Chapter 541. Terrifying Yuan power instantly exploded. Taifai did not escape. Instead, he released his Yuan power in an attempt to protect Li Zhongjiu, who was behind him. Taifai decided to let Taifai endure the power in front of him. However, the violent explosion that he had imagined did not occur. All the power also stopped at this moment. If the wind lightning bead were to explode, the metal pieces around it would spread out in all directions. However, the wind lightning bead in front of him was not damaged at all. Originally, the wind lightning bead was about to explode. However, the tyrannical power directly suppressed the destructive power of the wind lightning bead. It was as if a person's ultimate move was forcefully shoved back. Such a method would be incomparably shocking to anyone. It didn't explode. How is this possible? Yi Tianshui and Lung Aotian's swords also fell to the side and did not cause any effect. In fact, they subconsciously wanted to resist the power of the energy after the explosion. However, they did not expect that it would be blocked by a mysterious power. The source of this mysterious power was none other than Lin Feng. It was Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu pressed down with one hand and directly suppressed the strength of the wind lightning bead. This caused the latter to be unable to unleash even the slightest bit of anger. Tell me, who is it that killed you? Li Zhongjiu grabbed Chao Lin and lifted him up. When Chao Lin was caught, he woke up and realized that he was still alive. He immediately looked in the direction of Wan Zhong with an incomparably hateful gaze. Wan Zhong, I have no enmity with you. Why do you want to kill me? Chao Lin's furious roar had also released all of his anger and resentment. He could not wait to take the life of the person in front of him. Wan Zhong, who was stopped by Chao Lin, also panicked at this moment. His legs instantly went soft. However, he still rolled and crawled as he ran into the distance. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. How can you be alive? How is this possible? Wan Zhong roared again and again. At this moment, only by escaping himself would he have a chance to survive. Otherwise, he would definitely be beaten to death by these people. Immediately, Wan Zhong also quickly fled into the distance. Catch him, Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. Wang Ding and the rest did not even need to act. Taifai's figure flashed and chased after Wan Zhong. Boom! Wan Zhong pushed through the crowd, but before he could run a few steps, he was directly captured by Taifai. Wan Zhong threw it in front of Li Zhongjiu. Everyone looked at Wan Zhong, who was in front of them. It seemed as though everyone present had been fooled by Wan Zhong. They couldn't wait to tear Wan Zhong's bones apart. Wan Zhong himself was also quite scared. Don't kill me, don't kill me. After that, Chao Lin also testified to Wan Zhong face to face and described the entire process. Lung Aotian and the rest did not expect Wan Zhong to be so vicious. You brat. So you are the main culprit. Take him down. Wang Ding immediately ordered when he saw the situation. The soldiers under him immediately rushed forward, but were stopped by Lung Aotian. Sir, please wait. Lung Aotian blocked in front of Wan Zhong. Although Wan Zhong had committed the crime of murder, and the target of the murder was his own junior brother from the same sect, the nature of this action was rather vile. However, Wan Zhong was still a disciple of their martial world pavilion. If he were to be executed outside, it would be the martial world pavilion that would lose face. Thus, it wasn't anything dazzling. No matter what, Wan Zhong's actions are indeed suspected of murder. However, Wan Zhong and Chao Lin are both disciples of the Imperial Martial Pavilion. I hope that Sir can be lenient and let our Imperial Martial Pavilion handle this matter. Lung Aotian said. Wang Ding heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that. Although the evidence was conclusive, and even the dead man had spoken, there was naturally no way to escape. However, Wan Zhong was still a disciple of the Imperial Martial Pavilion. If he beheaded all the disciples of the Imperial Martial Pavilion, it would be very impressive. On the surface, it looked like a very impressive act. However, if there were any problems in the future, it would be hard to say. Therefore, if this hot potato could be transferred out, it would naturally be a very good thing. However, he could not agree too early. Otherwise, people would think that he was a coward. Therefore, on the surface, he had to be a little cold. Yes, the Imperial Martial Pavilion is also a place of national treasure. In addition, there are many suspicious points in this case. Let's bring him back first, and make a decision after the matter is investigated clearly. However, Wang Zhong's identity as a suspect must be confirmed at this moment. The interrogation will be carried out in 3 days. Wang Ding was also smart. With a few words he settled this matter. Not only did he not lose face, but he also handled this matter very well. Wang Zhong heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that he still had a way out, and did not have to die on the spot. However, just as Wang Zhong heaved a sigh of relief, a hand suddenly grabbed Wang Zhong. With a bang, Wang Zhong was directly placed on the table where he was just now. You came to my territory to kill someone and framed me? You want to take him away without even asking anything. What do you think this place is? All of them had thought of it, but they had neglected Li Zongjio. With Li Zongjio's strength, it was impossible for him to let this matter pass so easily. Today there must be an explanation. I saved a person. Naturally, I have to kill a person. Li Zongjio said indifferently. Wang Zhong, who was lying on the table, was like a sheep waiting to be slaughtered. He did not expect that one day, he would lie on the chopping board and be at the mercy of others. Li Zongjio, if you have something to say, let's talk nicely. Do you know the consequences of killing Wang Zhong? Before Lung Aotian could finish his words, he saw Li Zongjio directly shoot several flying needles into Wang Zhong's body. Suddenly, Wang Zhong's body stiffened on the spot. He fell to the ground, unable to move. At this moment there was no other way. Wang Zhong lay on the table, and felt that his aura was flowing out little by little, like a deflated balloon. No matter what he did, there was no way to stop his aura from disappearing. The only thing that could be seen was his eyes. His eyes were filled with reluctance. He did not want to die. However, it was a pity that he had schemed against Li Zongjio. He casually threw Wang Zhong's cold body on the ground. Wang Zhong's death could be said to be a very cruel way, because during the process, his death perception was magnified by dozens of times, and the speed was also slowed down by dozens of times. Therefore, he could clearly feel the process of his death. How did Li Zongjio know? In his previous life, Li Zongjio had also tried this needle technique. Li Zongjio himself could clearly feel the feeling of death, so much so that he almost could not wake up. Therefore, since Li Zongjio had personally experienced it, he naturally wanted these people to have a taste of it. You killed Wang Zhong. Lung Aotian was shocked when he saw this scene. This Li Zongjio was a little too fearless. He killed people just like that. Do I need your permission to kill people? Li Zongjio's eyes made Lung Aotian feel real fear. This was not a gaze that a person of his age should have. It was so sharp that it made it difficult for others to look at him. This person killed people. I have already cleaned him up for you. Now you can release my people. Li Zongjio said indifferently. Until now, only Taifai had been released. The 6-headed butchers, and the others were still tied up on the ground. However, the people watching over them were slightly loosened. Wang Ding's brain was not enough. You spent so much effort to save him, but now you've killed another person. Do you think you can call it even just like that? Regardless of whether Wang Zhong killed people or not, Li Zongjio himself did not have the authority to enforce the law. Wang Ding glanced at Li Zongjio, and then looked at the people around him. Today these big shots deliberately came to make things difficult for him. However, Wang Ding still had to settle this matter. Imperial alchemist Li Zongjio, assist this official in killing the murderer Wang Zhong. Once this case is over, bring Wang Zhong's body back. Since Wang Zhong was dead, there was no point in saying anything. Therefore, Wang Ding might as well do Li Zongjio a favor and give him credit. Of course, he also kept an eye out. If there was any blame in the future, it would be Li Zongjio who did it. It would not have much to do with him. Chapter 542. Even Lung Aoyan and Yi Tianshui couldn't do anything about Wang Ding's decisiveness. After all, Wang Ding had given him face in the beginning. Now that he was dead, Wang Ding had to report back to him. However, it also confirmed that Wang Zhong had killed someone. In that case, there would be a storm in the Imperial Martial Pavilion. The subordinates also released Li Zongjio's men one after another. As for the imprisonment, it was naturally left unsettled. It was likely that this matter would be over, and no one would pursue it. However, There was one person who wouldn't let this matter go so easily. The ninth prince is backing you, right? Li Zongjie walked in front of Lung Outyin and said plainly. Lung Outyin was taken aback when he heard that. What was Li Zongjie up to again? Nothing good happened in the hands of Li Zongjie. 1 billion purple yuan. Get your ninth prince to prepare it. I'll come and get it when I'm free. Li Zongjie said plainly. It sounded like he was going to find trouble with the ninth prince. Li Zongjie, what are you thinking? You can't say such things so casually. Yi Tianshui immediately stepped forward to persuade Li Zongjie when he heard what he said. Going against the ninth prince was definitely an unwise action. It was no different from courting death. How could ordinary people challenge the authority of the royal family? They only needed to say a word and move their fingers to take your life. I've already made an exception by letting you people go today. Yi Tianshui, your grandfather asked me to take care of you. But it doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want in front of me. If you want to live, you'll have to practice your skills first. Li Zongjie looked at Yi Tianshui and said plainly. Obviously, Li Zongjie wasn't very satisfied with Yi Tianshui's performance. He wasn't strong enough, but he still had to poke his nose into other people's business. She heard Li Zongjie scolding her instead. Yi Tianshui was so angry that he wanted to fight with Li Zongjie. However, she still forcefully endured it because from the beginning, Li Zongjie's strength was indeed above hers. However, this did not mean that Li Zongjie could act recklessly. Also, your imperial sword art sucks. Li Zongjie said. Judging from Li Zongjie's tone, he seemed to have some understanding of Yi Tianshui's sword-wielding art. However, Yi Tianshui wasn't convinced. You are stronger than me. But that doesn't mean that your sword manipulation technique is better than mine. Yi Tianshui had been studying the imperial sword manipulation technique for several years. He had poured all his talent and energy into it. However, Li Zongjie said that it didn't seem to be much, and it was even in a very bad state. How could he tolerate this? He wanted to argue with Li Zongjie, but Lung Outyin stopped him. Li Zongjie's strength wasn't something they could compare to. He didn't take the invitations of the princes seriously at all. He even killed a disciple of the Imperial Martial Pavilion in front of the city guards. In front of hundreds of people, he brought a dead person back to life. Such a battle record was simply unbelievable. Young master, please wait. Please accept our respect. Li Zongjie waved his hand and led Taifai and the others back. However, such a thing had happened in such a short period of time. Of course, they had to reorganize. Otherwise, who would dare to come to the Bue casino if things kept happening? The ones who stopped Li Zongjie were the Chao couple. The change in the outcome was also very shocking. At first, they thought that Li Zongjie was the murderer. However, they didn't expect that Li Zongjie would use such a miraculous method to revive Chao Lin, who had been dead for a long time, in front of everyone. The two elders even pulled Chao Lin to kneel in front of Li Zongjie. They did this to express their gratitude. What's the use of kneeling? Come to my casino after graduation. Li Zongjie glanced at them. If kneeling could save a life, many people would be willing to kneel for a long time. Therefore, this was simply a useless action. They might as well come to his casino to work. If Brother Li doesn't mind, I will return to the casino after graduation and repay Brother Li for saving my life. Chao Lin said. When a person was gradually pulled back from the edge of death, it was a magical feeling. It was hard to describe what it was like. However, there was no doubt that he would have an extreme trust in Li Zongjie. It was this kind of trust that made Chao Lin so loyal to Li Zongjie. Li Zongjie waved his hand and dispersed the people around. It was a good night, but these people forced so many things to happen. They really knew how to cause trouble. What's more, the Great Delight Casino's tough approach today shocked everyone. Li Zongjie's strength was also rumored to be amazing. Originally, the Bue Casino was already on the verge of death. If it had been a little later, all of their heads would have fallen. However, Li Zongjie appeared and turned the tide. In the end, he even killed a student of the martial arts pavilion. Fortunately, Wan Zhong had died in Li Zongjie's hands. If he had been brought back, Li Zongjie would not have been able to kill him. If he had been brought back, he would have known that Wan Zhong had secretly harmed his fellow disciples. Wan Zhong's cultivation would have been destroyed. Then he would be trapped in the withered leaf forest for 20 to 30 years and enjoy this lonely torture. Dying like this would be too easy for him. The Bue Casino was able to escape death this time, thanks to Li Zongjiu's extraordinary medical skills. Some people naturally didn't believe it, but many people present saw it with their own eyes. Therefore, Li Zongjiu's medical skills were recorded by many people. Even many of the city's influential people had heard of Li Zongjiu's name. They wanted to ask Li Zongjiu to come for a consultation. However, no one knew when this news had spread in the market. If Li Zongjiu were to treat a patient, he would need to pay at least 10 billion purple yuan for the consultation fee. This was only the most basic consultation fee. The amount of money that would be spent on the follow-up treatment was immeasurable. Qi family. When Qi Yanran heard about Li Zongjiu's deeds, she, who was painstakingly cultivating, couldn't help but smile charmingly. As expected of Li Zongjiu. However, such a flamboyant character would definitely bring him a big disaster. There were even rumors outside that Li Zongjiu was preparing to find trouble with the ninth prince. As for what kind of trouble, no one knew for the time being. Everyone's opinions were also different. The news about Li Zongjiu in the city had also spread for a long time. The master of this news was currently in the 5 Elements Yuan house, refining his own level 5 advanced elixir. Although it was only a small realm higher than the level 5 intermediate elixir. However, if he wanted to achieve it, it would be more difficult than reaching the level 5 intermediate elixir. Even Li Zongjiu had to borrow the power of his origin spirit to be able to refine this elixir. The majestic white dragon origin spirit wrapped around Li Zongjiu's body, constantly injecting power into the azure cauldron in front of him through his palms. Boom! A demonic flame rose from the azure cauldron, melting the devil camel flower bit by bit. The king blood demon lotus elixir naturally requires the blood of a beast king. There was a small transparent bottle in Li Zongjiu's hand. It wasn't an easy task for ordinary people to find the blood of a king-level meta beast. This was because once the blood was exposed, the meta chi would quickly disappear. Li Zongjiu had a howling moon wolf king under his command. It could be said that he could get as much blood as he wanted. He poured the howling moon wolf king's blood into the cauldron. The azure cauldron also began the slow refining process. Li Zongjiu sat cross-legged. The refining process was slow because his current cultivation was not enough, so it was impossible to speed it up. Instead, it would cause his origin energy to be consumed quickly, leading to the failure of refining the elixir later. Hey! I didn't expect that there would be a few mid-grade origin stones in Han Wuxia's storage ring. With nothing to do, Li Zongjiu rummaged through Han Wuxia's storage ring and found the mid-grade primordial stones. Although there were not many of them, they were not something that could be bought with money. One had to reach a certain level of cultivation before one could come into contact with the primordial stones. For example, Wuxia elixir sect was really lucky to find so many origin stones. In addition, Li Zongjiu did not care at all, so he gave the origin stones to these people. With the primordial stones in hand, the success rate of the refinement would be greatly increased. Originally, I only had an 80% chance of success, but now I have a 90% chance. Chapter 543. Using the Vitality Stone to replenish one's yuan power was naturally very effective. At the same time, the Vitality Stone would constantly pour yuan power into one's body, cleansing one's meridians to a certain extent. Although Li Zongjiu's cultivation level was high, his body was still the same as before. In Li Zongjiu's previous life, during the process of cultivation, he had refined countless pills and tempered himself countless times. That was how he had achieved what he had today. Although Li Zongjiu's cultivation level was high, it was still very difficult for him to reach that level if his body's quality did not keep up. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu had cultivated the ancient golden tyrant body technique. In the process, his body's quality had also improved. Just as Li Zongjiu was concentrating on refining elixirs, the Special Envoy Department finally found the bodies of Han Wuxia and the others. Unfortunately, Han Wuxia's body was already deformed. In the past few days, they had also caught a man who had been holding a Special Envoy's waste token and swindling others. This man was Blackie, whom Huang He had been looking for. Unfortunately, Blackie found Huang He dead on the spot the next day. Blackie also had other people's waste tokens in his hands that day. He did not hand them over directly, because the waste tokens themselves were not cheap. If they were to be sold in the black market, they might be able to fetch a good price. It just so happened that they were a little short of money these few days, so they were prepared to go to a trustworthy trading house in the black market to sell the item. However, they did not expect that they would be immediately captured by a large group of special envoys the moment they saw the light of day. They were finally sent here. Tell me, how did you get this item? A cold light flashed in Su Yan's eyes. Dozens of special envoys had been killed without leaving behind a complete corpse. A large number of Blood Strike Guards' corpses were also found at the scene. It was unclear what had happened, and no one knew what had happened. If Qingyuan Manor was also involved, wouldn't it be even more of a headache for them? After capturing Blackie, Su Yan had countless ways to deal with him. He asked Blackie to speak. My lord, please spare my life. This is... I picked it up. Xiao He was almost scared to death by the lineup in front of him. However, Blackie's experience also told him that he could never admit that he had stolen this item. If he did, he would definitely die. Very good. Gui Tu-san, I'll leave him to you. Make him tell me everything he knows. Yes, sir. A stooped old man walked out from the darkness. Soon after, the old man spread out the cowhide in his hands on the table. Among the cowhide, there were some small and exquisite knives. On the knives there were some strange marks. Obviously, these knives were not used for cooking. Gui Tu-san's name resounded like thunder in the ears of those in this line of work. This was because the name Gui Tu-san basically represented death. Gui Tu-san used to be a sculptor. He liked to carve things like human bodies, but later on, his style suddenly changed. He liked to carve on human bones, and it was the kind that had blood on it. Blackie could feel the cold blade slowly flowing across his skin. He also felt his body suddenly tense up. Don't kill me. I'll speak. Blackie was nothing more than a loafer. Even some of the more vicious people in the underworld would be afraid of his aura and strength. Not to mention a terrifying general like Gui Tu-san. He was simply the representative of the death god. After Blackie explained everything, Gui Tu-san used his own methods. Gui Tu-san also used his own means. After all, there was no other way to guarantee that what little Black said was true. In the end, Blackie died little by little in pain. His end was really tragic. However, no one pitied Blackie. Su Yan sorted out the information in front of him. It's this kid again, Li Zhongjie. Su Yan still remembered that he was invited to the Yi mansion by Yi Lantian. Among the names he submitted, Li Zhongjie was on the list. Although the situation at that time was not good for Li Zhongjie at all. But who would have thought that Li Zhongjie would do so many earth-shattering things later on? Not only did he offend Yi Lantian in public, but he also offended Sima Shengyan. Later on, it was said that he also humiliated Han Wuxia in public. Twice. The first time, Su Yan was also present. At that time, he only thought that Li Zhongjie and Han Wuxia were both young and impetuous, so there was a small fight between them. It was not a big deal. And now, Han Wuxia obviously had something on him. So he lured Huang He to make a move and planned to kill Li Zhongjie. But in the end he did not know why. Li Zhongjie on the other hand was safe and sound. But Han Wuxia was dead. Not only that, but the Blood Strike Guards were also dead. There are many suspicious points in this. 3. But according to Su Yan's understanding of Han Wuxia, it was obvious that Han Wuxia had secretly colluded with the people of Qingyuan Mountain Villa to use the power of Qingyuan Mountain Villa to get rid of Li Zhongjie. But what he did not expect was that Li Zhongjie was too strong. Not only was he unharmed, but he also killed his opponent without leaving a single trace. He went for wool and came home shorn. This was the most tragic outcome. Su Yan had already gone through the entire process in his mind. He clearly knew what kind of role Han Wuxia played in this. However, he didn't know how to write this report. If we could find Li Zhongjie's demon camel flower, we would definitely be able to convict Li Zhongjie. But now it seems that there is no chance. Even Huang He is dead. The dead tell no tales. Su Yan let out a long sigh. Anyone related to this matter had been killed by Li Zongjie. On this point, Li Zongjie was very decisive in doing things. It was unbelievable. Not only did he want to take revenge, but he also wanted to eliminate all of them. To be able to do this so flawlessly, there must be someone guiding him from behind. Or this kid looks young, but is actually a real veteran. Su Yan thought to himself. Since Han Wuxia's incident had been investigated to this point, Li Zongjie would have to announce it to the public. However, if Li Zongjie's suspicions were to be revealed, he would definitely become Li Zongjie's enemy. Recently, this young man had been in the limelight. His position in the city was very stable. Therefore, Su Yan had to think about it carefully. After all, it was just a job. Moreover, Han Wuxia was not related to him at all. If he really angered Li Zongjie because of such an insignificant person, it was obviously not a wise thing to do. Then he might not be able to please either side. Looks like this matter has to be suppressed. Qingyuan Manor is also involved. I'm afraid things are not that simple. Su Yan thought to himself. While Su Yan was collecting the corpses, he had also discovered that the Blood Strike guards who had participated in this bloody battle were not weak. There was even a 6-copper Blood Strike guard, who was a Yuan monarch powerhouse. He was someone who could kill a Yuan monarch powerhouse. That person had to be a Yuan monarch powerhouse. This meant that the faction behind Li Zongjie also had the power to kill a Yuan monarch powerhouse. Su Yan himself had not reached that level yet. If something had happened to this Yuan monarch powerhouse, some special forces would have to be mobilized. They might even have to work together to suppress the situation. This was not a simple matter. A ruffian at the Yuan monarch level was a huge threat. There was also a special department in the dynasty to deal with such people. The Special Envoy Department was mainly responsible for some of the most basic public security issues. Su Yan did not want to put himself in danger. Therefore, he had also concealed everything about Li Zongjie. He only said that there was a mysterious force involved, and the reason for the outbreak was the appearance of suspected stolen goods. However, if he wanted to find out more information, he would have to ask Qingyuan Manor. Chapter 544. Qingyuan Manor. They didn't have the ability to do so now, so they could only stand aside and let the matter hang. However, the death of Han Wuxia and the others was announced to the public that they had died in the line of duty. In the process, an extremely important case was solved in Han Wuxia, and the others were portrayed as heroes. Concealing the truth was one of the methods they were extremely adept at. In a room of the 5 Elements Yuan house. In the house beside him, there was also a slight change. Even though the house had been strengthened by a formation, one could still clearly feel the power that was spreading out from it. Everyone was shocked to the core. Buzz! Li Zongjie gently opened the Azura cauldron in his hand, brushed away the layer of defensive barrier on the surface, and extracted the power inside bit by bit. Finally, the white mist formed into an elixir in his palm. Originally, it was just a cloud of medicinal mist. At this moment, what appeared in Li Zongjie's hand was an elixir. This was a type of elixir that was about to reach the level and realm of a grade 6 elixir. Once an elixir reached the 6th grade, it would no longer appear in the form of a solid elixir, but a kind of power that was born from nothingness. With a flick of the finger, the elixir in his hand could merge into the air. It would completely disappear. It was a kind of vaporized shape. Therefore, a 6th grade elixir was very precious, because they could form a kind of space by themselves. When you entered their space, you wouldn't even be able to find their existence. Therefore, even in some ruins, a 6th grade elixir was something that could only be found by chance. If you were fated with it, the 6th grade elixir might automatically appear in front of you. If it doesn't approve of you, then even if you turn the entire space upside down, you won't be able to find it. That was why it was so rare. The elixir in Li Zongjie's hand had not reached that level, but its strength was not weak. Moreover, when the elixir was formed, it formed the effect of the elixir. Therefore, it was inevitable that people would be surprised. Li Zongjie himself was very surprised. When he opened the elixir, he was also slightly surprised. It seems that my alchemy skills have improved. Even Li Zongjie himself felt that it was inconceivable. Logically speaking, Li Zhongjiu's alchemy level had already reached the pinnacle. However, when he displayed it today, he felt that he was even closer to the true pinnacle of alchemy than in his previous life. It seemed like it was because of the Genius Pavilion. It was possible that his alchemy level had also improved imperceptibly during that process. The two of them complemented each other. The effect of this Genius Pavilion is indeed not weak. It seems that I have to go and take a look often if I have the chance. Even Li Zhongjiu wanted to pry into the secrets behind the Genius Tower. Just what exactly existed at the highest level? He must uncover it. Now, let me see the effects of this royal blood demon Buddha Dan. Li Zhongjiu kept the Azura cauldron. He sat down cross-legged and took out the royal blood demon Buddha pill. He put it into his mouth. When his body's condition was adjusted to its peak, and his aura gradually became active, he swallowed the elixir. Gulp. The royal blood demon Buddha pill immediately flowed into Li Zhongjiu's body. This was a very powerful elixir. Even a Yuan King elite would have to be prepared if they wanted to consume it. Otherwise, the elixir would definitely break through their bodies. The effect of a high-grade grade 5 elixir was no joke. In addition, this elixir was personally refined by Li Zhongjiu, so its effect was slightly better than that refined by ordinary people. Not only that, but when Li Zhongjiu used the white dragon origin spirit to protect his body, the elixir's effect was immediately stimulated. Boom! The power of the elixir was immediately released in his body. It was as if that terrifying power had surged into every corner of his body. Boom! The berserk power poured into his body, causing Li Zhongjiu to feel suffocated. The boundless power was like a rubber ball that suddenly poured in a large amount of gas. If this continued, Li Zhongjiu's body would very likely explode on the spot. Ancient Golden Tyrant Body Art. White God Fu. Blood Spirit Realm. Li Zhongjiu immediately used the 3 great cultivation techniques. Because the energy was too abundant, he had to use this technique, while exhausting this large amount of energy to a certain extent. Only then could he stabilize his body's condition. Outside the 5 Elements Yuan building, immediately, several loud rumbling noises were heard. Frightening energies immediately gushed out from the various rooms of the 5 Elements Yuan house. Some of the people who were still training were immediately woken up by this. Boom! Boom! What's going on? Why is the aura of the 5 Elements Yuan building going berserk? When some experts appeared, they would often cause the energy of the 5 Elements Yuan building to become chaotic. In this way, it would affect the people on the other floors. At that time, if any fatal problems occurred, the 5 Elements Yuan building would not be able to bear the consequences. What happened? What's the situation now? When the person in charge of the 5 Elemental Yuan Tower appeared, he began to interrogate them. When he found out that the aura was coming from a sovereign training room, he immediately gave the order to strengthen the formation of the sovereign training room by 10 times. Although the price of strengthening the array was extremely high, the 5 Elements Yuan building's priority was to stabilize the situation. However, the most important thing for the 5 Elements Yuan house was to stabilize this chaotic situation. Otherwise, it would be terrible if the people in the other training rooms died one after another. In the future, the 5 Elements Yuan building might even close down. Once the formation was reinforced, the other rooms would be less affected as well. However, everyone immediately investigated the situation of Li Zhongjiu's room. What exactly was going on? Why were there so many situations? Could it be that someone had purposely come to cause trouble? After the information was brought out, only a name was displayed. Li Zhongjiu. The person in charge of the 5 Elements Yuan building frowned when he saw the name list in his hand. Before this, he really did not know who Li Zhongjiu was. Could it be that he was an expert that suddenly appeared? However, when his subordinate handed over the information of Li Zhongjiu to him, the person in charge clearly knew that Li Zhongjiu was actually such an incredible person. Not simple. Li Zhongjiu took 5 days to refine the elixir. In these 5 days, many things had happened as well. The most obvious change that everyone paid attention to was the change in the upper echelons of the 7 Stars Fire Room. Some time ago, the Saber Axe Pavilion's treasury was attacked by a mysterious person. Even the pavilion master was directly beheaded. As a result, the saber-axe pavilion itself was immediately divided into two factions. One faction controlled the secret of the giant saber's forging technique, while the other controlled the secret of the giant axe's forging technique. Both sides had different opinions. Moreover, the people of the giant axe pavilion advocated revenge, so they attacked the upper echelons of the Seven Stars Fire Room again and again like crazy. On the other hand, the giant saber pavilion continued to maintain a small facade of the saber-axe pavilion and continued to do business. It seemed that they wanted to make money peacefully. However, the new executive steward of the Seven Stars Fire Room, who was also a disciple of the Song family, had fallen into a river due to drunkenness when he went out to seek pleasure. He drowned. Everyone knew that it must be the people of the giant axe pavilion who took action. After a period of time, the Seven Stars Fire Room entered a state of preparation for war. In the end, there was no suitable candidate, so they had no choice but to invite Song Jiyu back. It was only the death of a few management members, but it directly became chaotic. Among the younger generation, there was no one who could take on such a big responsibility. In the end, they could only push Song Jiyu out to deal with the current situation. As a result, Song Jiyu only took office for 2 days and reached a consensus with the Giant Saber Pavilion. They joined forces to eliminate the people of the Giant Axe Pavilion and snatched the forging technique of the Giant Axe Pavilion. The Giant Saber Pavilion was actually under Song Jiyu's wing. In the end, it became a new Saber-Axe Pavilion, but it was under Song Jiyu's name. This matter seemed very simple and direct. However, to achieve such a result, it was unknown how much effort Song Jiyu had spent and how many methods she had used. After Song Jiyu took office, not only did she easily solve the problem, but she also directly strengthened the strength of the Seven Stars Fire Room. As for how she did it, the people of the Song family did not care. After all, the business world was like a battlefield. It was a war to begin with. One did not look at the process, only the result. The people who died were worthless. Now Song Jiyu had once again become the executive manager of the Seven Stars Fire Room. She held the power and at the same time, cleaned up a few competitors. This was a very beautiful move. It was hard to believe that this woman was actually so powerful. Signoring who? This set of raging dragon capturing flames was used by young Master Li last time. Because there was some wear and tear, our Seven Stars Fire Room has repaired it. Please pass it on. Xiao Zhao held the big metal box in her hands. During this period of time, if it were not for Yinghu's help, the young lady's plan would not have been so easily realized. Okay, no problem. Yinghu took the raging dragon capturing flames. Miss Xiao Zhao, is there anything else? Seeing that Xiao Zhao was still standing at the door and had not left, Yinghu could not help but ask. Senior Yinghu. The young lady said that if Senior Yinghu does not mind, the Seven Stars Fire Room is willing to take care of everything for Senior Yinghu. Chapter 545. Xiao Zhao said. Shadow Fox's strength hovered around that of a 9th-grade Yuan ancestor. In addition, his assassination techniques were already at the pinnacle of perfection. Sometimes, even Yuan monarch powerhouses would be able to avoid his assassination. The pavilion master of the Saber-Axe Pavilion had been assassinated by Shadow Fox. Normally, this kind of job would require a very high fee if he were to do it. However, Li Zongjiu had given the order before, so he could only act for free and kill the person. However, as a reward, the Shadow Fox could take as much as he wanted from the treasury. He only needed to leave behind the forging secret manual. In fact, the Giant Saber Pavilion's secret manual happened to be in Song Jiyu's hands. That was why she had been able to subdue the Giant Saber Pavilion so easily. In addition, the blacksmith himself had suffered a lot of injuries during the struggle. He urgently needed an infusion of power. That was why he had joined Song Jiyu. If he had not done so, the Saber-Axe Pavilion would have ceased to exist. In comparison, it was clear that this method was more appropriate. Originally, the Giant Saber Pavilion, which had split off from the Giant Saber Pavilion, had been able to contend with the Seven-Star Flame Room. However, the The giant saber pavilion had changed sides too quickly. The people's hearts were not united. Even if someone wanted to, it was already too late. 100 low-grade yuan stones. Just listening to it would make all cultivators drool endlessly. Song Jiyu had clearly seen the potential of Shadow Fox by offering such a high price. Not only that, but there was also the Howling Moon Wolf King by Shadow Fox's side. This was probably what Song Jiyu coveted. A Yuan Monarch level Yuan Beast would naturally be a great help. Now, it seemed like the Howling Moon Wolf King was following Shadow Fox. Therefore, as long as he could bring the Shadow Fox over, he would be able to bring the Howling Moon Wolf King over as well. This was definitely a deal that would definitely be profitable without any losses. Shadow Fox smiled faintly when he heard this. That little girl's taste was not bad. In fact, this was a very generous treatment. If Shadow Fox had not met Li Zongjio, he would have jumped on Li Zongjio's coattails without hesitation. But things were different now. In the past he had no fixed abode. If he could obtain the support of these large factions, he could just casually move in. Every year, he could just muddle along and wait for death. Perhaps when he was young, he would have advocated freedom. But once you get older, everything will be different. Everything was for the sake of stability. Now that he was at Li Zongjio's place, he could eat, drink, and play. When he was free, he could plant flowers, fish, and so on. When there was a problem, he could go out and deal with it casually. There was no need for him to show up at all. For example, if he helped the 7-star fire room kill someone, in the end, it would not be traced back to him, Shadow Fox. It was very safe. Where else could he find such a good job? Only Li Zongjio would have such a good job. Usually, when he cultivated beside the Howling Moon Wolf King, he could clearly feel that his strength had increased at a rapid rate. The reason Song Jiyu wanted to poach him with a huge sum of money was probably because she had her eyes on the Howling Moon Wolf King. But he did not expect that the Howling Moon Wolf King was actually Li Zongjio's meta beast. Although it did not belong to him, the thought of having a meta king level meta beast by his side made Shadow Fox rather proud. He was the kind that carried the wind with him when he walked. Furthermore, Shadow Fox knew that the Howling Moon Wolf King would bite off his head, without hesitation, if he had any rebellious thoughts in his heart. This fellow would not be so courteous. Miss Xiao Zhao, go back and tell your young mistress that this old man thanks her for her kindness. However, this old man does not have much ability. I am already very satisfied to be able to live a stable life here. Please go back. One could analyze the pros and cons of this, even if they used their toes. If it was not for Li Zongjio's help, Song Jiyu would not have the strength and status she had today. Therefore, in comparison, Li Zongjio's potential was obviously greater. At the same time, if he could soar again, he wouldn't mind at all. There was some surprise in Xiao Zhao's eyes when she heard this. Recently, the young miss had also recruited some experts. However, the conditions and rewards that she had promised were not even half of what this Yinghu elder had offered. Therefore, when these people heard that there were yuan stones, all of them rushed over like ducks. They could not wait to work for the young mistress as soon as possible. However, the number of true experts was still relatively small. Shadow Fox was actually unmoved when he heard that there were 100 meta stones. Clearly, Shadow Fox's self-control and cultivation level were very high. It was not something that they could imagine. Sorry to disturb you. I will pass on your words truthfully, Xiao Zhao said. Before coming here, Song Jiyu had told her that Yinghu wouldn't agree, so she wasn't too surprised. She was just a little surprised. TSK, 100 low-grade metastones. Did I do something stupid? That's 1,200 low-grade metastones in a year. Thinking of this, Shadow Fox smacked his lips. He looked at the Howling Moon Wolf King, who had stuck his head out beside him, and withdrew his tempted gaze. If he was not afraid of being killed by the Howling Moon Wolf King's claws, he would have agreed long ago. 3,000 miles away from the sacred Flame Royal City, there was a flame-slanting mountain. From time to time, the mountain pass would spew out a fire mist that resembled the roar of a fire dragon. At the same time, it would be accompanied by a terrifyingly hot magma that would roll out from it. Ordinary people would not dare to approach this flame-slanting mountain. However, There was a small town at the foot of this flame-slanting mountain. The town was built halfway up the mountain. There weren't many people in this town, but every single one of them was an incomparably strong man. Every day, they would be topless because the temperature here was too high. They would often carry an iron hammer on their waists. There was a stone tablet at the entrance of the town. There were a few words engraved on the tablet. Bright Thunder Craftsman Workshop. This was the headquarters of the Bright Thunder Craftsman Workshop. Every day, a large number of excellent weapons would be transported out of the Bright Thunder Craftsman Workshop. The forging and storage production of weapons basically depended on the Bright Thunder Craftsman Workshop. It was an exclusive weapon factory of the Qingyuan Villa. Whenever a new weapon was developed, it would be sent to the Qingyuan Villa as soon as possible. It was the armory of the Qingyuan Villa. A large number of people were hidden in the mountain peaks that seemed to be bare. When they learned that a top blacksmith of the Bright Thunder Craftsman Workshop had gone out to search for the Thunder/Blade and unfortunately died, they immediately tightened the protection of the Bright Thunder Craftsman Workshop. It was too dangerous, so they had no choice but to take it seriously. On a mountain peak, several blood-robed guards were sitting in front of a table. There were 3 of them. All 3 of them were 6 bronze blood-robed guards. Ever since Li Zhongjio had killed these 6 bronze blood-robed guards, the defensive power of the Bright Thunder Craftsman Workshop had increased by 30%. I heard that the 3rd brother died outside Sacred Flame City. Could he have been killed by the experts of Sacred Flame City? There were not many 6 bronze blood-robed guards. The 3 of them happened to be the sworn brothers of the 6 bronze blood-robed guard who had died. As Yuan monarchs, they naturally had more freedom than ordinary blood-robed guards. For example, they had 4 days off every month. During these 4 days, they could do whatever they wanted. If there were no urgent orders, they did not even have to return to report. Moreover, it also allowed them to relax a lot in terms of their behavior. They could drink and chat freely. As long as they did not betray the Qingyuan Villa, they were basically equivalent to retired high-ranking generals. The Sacred Flame Royal City was a forbidden area for the blood-robed guards. There were still many targets of the blood-robed guards who hid in the Sacred Flame Royal City all day long. If they attacked the Sacred Flame Royal City in the future, they would definitely catch these bastards and give them a good beating. Chapter 546. That's not necessarily true. I heard that 3rd brother died in the hands of a young man. A man who looked relatively calm said. He was holding a cup of tea in his hand. The other 2 men were shocked when they heard this. A young man? Could it be that he was a descendant of some dynasty's general? Was he a brave warrior? Otherwise, how could he have killed 3rd brother? It should be known that 3rd brother's blood python technique was not considered weak among the 4 of them. It could be considered outstanding among the grade 6 bloodstrike guards. They did not expect that he would lose his life in vain. Yes, a young man. I heard about it from old Wu. I don't know about the situation, but it's possible that he was intercepted by someone else. The calm man said. The Sacred Flame Royal City is really a forbidden place for us. It seems like we have lost a lot of people during this period of time. Even Qin Zhonghen died in the city. Tell me, isn't it quite dangerous inside? For a long time, Qingyuan Manor had not dared to touch the Sacred Flame Royal City. However, they had been rather active recently. Their actions outside the Sacred Flame Royal City were just some insignificant actions. If they truly wanted to become the mainstay of the continent and touch the core of the Sacred Flame Empire, they would have to set up their forces in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Not only Qin Zhonghen and the others, but even Meng Yu also died in the vicinity of Royal City. Although Meng Yu wasn't a real relative of the royal family, he was still considered a relative of the royal family, so he shouldn't have died so miserably. It's a pity that the Manor Lord has been wandering the world recently. The Deputy Manor Lord has spent most of his time in the underworld competition. Otherwise, he would definitely be able to catch the person behind all this. The few of them chatted as time passed. Suddenly, a cloud of smoke spewed out from the crater of the volcano. At the same time, a terrifying thunderbolt descended from the sky. A figure seemed to emerge from the smoke. When the figure landed on the ground, a powerful aura spread out. Boom! That terrifying power spread out in all directions like a tide. This person had long yellow hair, broad shoulders, and a stocky build. Just the power of lightning surrounding his body was enough to make people fear him and respect him, as if he was a god. Thunder District Master. The workshop owner has come out of seclusion? When the 3 blood-robed guards saw the yellow-haired man appear, they immediately withdrew their casual expressions and became extremely solemn as they spoke respectfully. My Bright Thunder Craftsman Workshop has lost a top-level blacksmith. Instead of catching the murderer, you're hiding in my workshop. Do you want to wait for death? As he spoke, Lei Gong also took a step forward. The aura on his body also whizzed out with a boom. The 3 of them were forced back dozens of steps. In the face of such an imposing aura, they had no strength to resist at all. The strength of the owner of the Bright Lightning Craftsman Workshop was too powerful, especially the sword in the master's hand. Congratulations to Workshop Master for forging a heaven-destroying divine weapon. Yes, congratulations to Workshop Master for successfully forging a divine weapon. The 3 of them congratulated Lei Gong repeatedly. It was obvious that Lei Gong was very dissatisfied with the death of one of his top-notch blacksmiths. Such a powerful person had actually died just like that. The Bloodstrike guard had acted as a sharp blade, yet it hadn't done anything. Lei Gong was naturally disappointed. However, when it came to the divine weapon, Lei Gong was very proud of himself. He immediately laughed out loud, as if he had forgotten about the previous matter. Haha! My thunder-crushing sword can cut the heavens and destroy the earth. It can also split the mountains and seas. Who can compete with the raging thunder? Lei Gong was obviously very satisfied with the sword in his hand. However, the sword was broad, thick, and sharp. It was not easy to control it. However, although my sword has reached the great completion, it still lacks the last step, which is to temper it. I heard that in the Blackwater Forest, there is a 10,000-year-old filthy evil spring. Send someone to help me find its location. I want to cut this evil spring and temper my thunder-crushing sword. Lei Gong said. Looking for something? Naturally, that was not a problem. Qingyuan Villa's subordinates were spread all over the country. It was not a big problem for them to find out the location of the Blackwater Forest. Don't worry, Workshop Master Lei. We will definitely find this filthy evil spring within 3 days. Well, get out of here. My Bright Thunder Workshop does not need your protection. Lei Gong waved his hand casually. The Bright Thunder Craftsman Workshop was an important place in Qingyuan Manor. Lei Gong had joined Qingyuan Manor because of its rich resources. Lei Gong was someone who was on equal footing with the master of the Qingyuan Villa. Naturally, he did not need the protection of the people in front of him, nor did he need to give them any face. Letting them leave on their own was already being courteous. If he was displeased, he could directly throw them out, and they wouldn't dare to do anything. The 3 experts looked at each other, and then left the Bright Lightning Craftsman Workshop with their people. After the 3 of them left, Lei Gong looked at the thunder-crushing sword in his hand and stroked its body. Given the state of the thunder-crushing sword, if it cooperates with the Thunder Slayer saber, it will definitely dominate the weaponry chart. Since you trash can't find the Thunder Slayer saber, I will go there personally. Lei Gong, the workshop master of the Bright Thunder Workshop, was ready to go to Sacred Flame Royal City personally. With his strength, he could go anywhere in the world. At the same time, he also found a sword box and stored the bursting thunder sword inside. He did not make any other arrangements and directly embarked on the journey to find the Thunder Slayer saber. These 2 weapons could be said to be Lei Gong's proudest work. Until now they were still outside. If that trash hadn't come to beg for mercy and asked to lend them to him, Lei Gong wouldn't have bothered with them. In the end, who knew that this trash couldn't even protect a weapon, and even lost his life? It was really humiliating to the extreme. At this moment, he had to go there personally to find them. Lei Gong set off like a thunderbolt. At this moment, Li Zhongjiu in the city, in the 5 Elements Yuan Tower. Li Zhongjiu had almost completely refined the Royal Blood Demon Buddha elixir. His mind power had finally broken through the cocoon at the last moment, and rushed into the Yuan Monarch level. At this moment, he could clearly feel that the White Dragon origin spirit had made a qualitative leap. The enhancement that the vast flying saber had given him previously was pitifully weak now. However, he believed that the effect would be pretty good if he used it to fight against an enemy. The White Dragon Origin Spirit seems to have grown a lot, but the Golden Dragon Origin Spirit and the Blood Dragon Origin Spirit have not changed much. Li Zongjio felt the changes in his body. The power in his body seemed to be urgently in need of a battle. Immediately, Li Zongjio's mind power spread out. Like a swarm of locusts, everything on the land outside the sacred Flame Royal City was captured clearly. At the same time, it also woke up many powerhouses who were in deep slumber. These powerhouses were all shocked. Their eyes revealed an ominous glint. It seemed like another powerhouse had been born. Furthermore, the mind power of this powerhouse was actually very domineering. This was also considered the first greeting. Although Li Zongjio's mind power had only just broken through to the monarch level, the power he displayed was like a proud king. He did not look like a beginner. Instead, he smoothly released his power to a peak level. I have finally recovered some power, Li Zongjio thought to himself. However, he suddenly caught sight of a figure through his mind capture. Oh, there is actually a big gift delivered to my doorstep. When Li Zongjio saw this figure, the corners of his mouth curled up into a sneer. Then, his mind power separated the space in front of him, and he appeared out of thin air outside the 5 Elements Yuan Tower. Boom! Li Zongjio's figure only stayed for a second after appearing. Then, he instantly disappeared from the sky above Sacred Flame Royal City. Chapter 547. Lei Gong's figure flashed like a bolt of lightning. However, as he approached the Sacred Flame Royal City, he reduced his speed slightly. This was because Lei Gong could sense that a figure was charging towards him. It's the aura of the Thunder Slash Blade. The Thunderfall sword in Lei Gong's hand could sense the Thunder Slash Blade. In fact, the Thunder Slash Blade and the Thunderfall sword were made of the same type of ore. Therefore, when the two weapons were placed together, they would sense each other. Li Zongjio could also sense the Thunder Slash Blade in his storage ring. It was actually emitting a slight fluctuation. Boom! The two figures met in the sky. Lei Gong stared at the man in the alchemist's robe in front of him. Li Zongjio did not have high standards for his clothing. Even now, he was still wearing the alchemist's robe of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. You're the one who killed my men? Lei Gong said in a deep voice. From the aura that Li Zongjio released, it was obvious that he was not simple. Therefore, it was not strange that his men had died in the hands of Li Zongjio. Now that Lei Gong had personally appeared, not only did he want to take away the Thunder Slash Blade, but he also wanted to take away Li Zongjio's life. However, Li Zongjio's age was slightly younger than Lei Gong had imagined. Lei Gong, it's been a long time. Unexpectedly, Li Zongjio said something that Lei Gong did not understand. Li Zongjio's words clearly meant that he had met Lei Gong before. However, Lei Gong did not remember seeing Li Zongjio before. Looking at Li Zongjio's expression, it seemed like he had a deep grudge against him. Could it be that he was the son of his enemy? However, if he wanted to calculate, he really could not remember which family he belonged to. It seems like you have a deep grudge against me. Hand over my Thunder Slash Blade, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Lei Gong said proudly. Li Zongjio's powerful aura had indeed surprised Lei Gong. Moreover, he was able to stand in the air at such a young age. This was a very profound realm. However, youth was a weakness. Even if one's cultivation was strong, there was no guarantee that one would succeed. In terms of combat experience, he was definitely lacking. Killing such a young man was as easy as flipping one's hand. Alright, how about this? You give me your thunder-bursting sword, and I'll leave you an intact corpse, how about it? Li Zongjio said with a smile. The expression on Lei Gong's face instantly froze. There was even a look of disbelief. One had to know that this thunder-bursting sword was a divine weapon that he had just forged. There were not many people in this world who knew the name of the thunder-bursting sword. How did this Li Zongjio know about it? He actually knew that the sword in his hand was called the thunder-crushing sword. It was truly shocking. In fact, it was an impossible thing to do. Lei Gong was shocked. How did you know about the thunder-crushing sword? Not only do I know about the thunder-crushing sword, but I also know when you will die. As soon as Li Zongjiu finished speaking, he took out the thunder beheading blade and took the initiative to attack. There was no point in saying more. Lei Gong was also a valiant general of the Qingyuan villa. If he could kill Lei Gong today, it could be considered as teaching the Qingyuan villa a profound lesson. It would make the people of the Qingyuan villa feel the pain of losing a grandmaster blacksmith. It was obviously not easy to accept. Since the Qingyuan villa had already sent people to take the initiative to attack Li Zongjiu, then Li Zongjiu naturally did not need to be polite. In his previous life, Qingyuan villa had caused him to be miserable. In this life, he would also let the Qingyuan villa slowly die in pain and helplessness. Li Zongjiu knew that Li Zongjiu was powerful. Since he had encountered him in the past few days, he would start with Lei Gong. Shameless boasting. You want to use my blade to kill me? I think you're delusional. Lei Gong immediately let out a low roar as the thunder-crushing sword appeared in his hand. It was as if a bolt of lightning had exploded in his palm. Rumble. Under this loud sound, one could see the wind and lightning rapidly surging. Even the sky behind Lei Gong had changed color at this moment. In an instant, 10,000 bolts of lightning appeared. A broad wing seemed to have descended from the sky. On the wing, overbearing lightning flickered. Young man, it seems that you don't know what true power is. The true form of the wing was revealed. It was a thunderhawk that was close to 10 feet in size. Thunderhawk King, 5th rank Beast King. Having a 5th rank Beast King, as one's own origin spirit, was a relatively terrifying matter. At this moment, seeing it was immediately shocking. The noble aura of a Beast King also spread across the entire land. Some of the origin beasts at the foot of the mountain were also crawling in their own caves as they trembled. If their aura accidentally offended the Beast King, what awaited them would be an extremely terrifying thunderstorm. Following the appearance of the Thunderhawk, Li Zongjiu's aura was indeed slightly affected. His figure could not help but stop in midair. Even the thunder-blade in his hand had left his hand. The Thunderhawk was surrounded by terrifying lightning. Under the lightning, it seemed to have formed a magnetic field that was filled with suction force. Therefore, the thunder-blade in Li Zongjiu's hand was sucked over. Oh, looking at the thunder-blade that was being sucked over, Li Zongjiu was clearly a little surprised by this strange power. It seemed that as long as it was an electrified or iron weapon, it would be sucked over by the Thunderhawk. In order to verify his experiment, Li Zongjiu immediately took out 2 Thunderfire pearls. He threw them forward. Li Zongjiu did not know where he had gotten these things. Anyway, he was sure that he had found them in the storage rings of these people. There was no way he could use them all. The things that these people used for self-defense became a pile of useless things in Li Zongjiu's hands. However, Li Zongjiu didn't throw it away. You see, in a situation like this, isn't it useful? Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 Thunderfire pearls rushed over. However, they did not get too close. Instead, the 2 lightning bolts struck them directly. Boom! Boom! When they got close to him, they were ignited and exploded. A cloud of smoke spread out. How dare you use a child's toy in front of me? You're displaying your slight skill in front of an expert. Obviously, Lei Gong was very unhappy. Li Zongjiu was simply a fool. How could he use such a thing to hurt a Yuan King elite? Just as Lei Gong was thinking about this, he saw Li Zongjiu rushing towards him. Whoosh! Li Zongjiu's speed was incomparably fast, and he appeared in front of Lei Gong in an instant. However, his body was trapped by the power of lightning and thunder. Boom! Li Zongjiu was also entangled. With my Thunder Eagle's magnetic field, no one can get close to me. Don't you know that? Immediately, Li Zongjiu could not move at all. Lei Gong was not prepared to play around with Li Zongjiu for too long. Immediately, his body's strength emitted a loud bang as it discovered the surrounding lightning light array. The thick thunderbolts instantly surged towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was obviously here to die. The Thunder Eagle magnetic field formed by Lei Gong's own Yuan power was like a spider web that trapped Li Zongjiu. The Thunder Eagle flapped its wings, and the crazy lightning bolts surged into Li Zongjiu's body. Boom! At this moment, Li Zongjiu's body was also emitting the same intense light. Trash! From Lei Gong's point of view, Li Zongjiu should have been easily killed by his own power. There was no challenge at all. When Li Zongjio faced his attack, he was like a fool. He did not even have the slightest resistance. Therefore, Lei Gong was very disappointed. He came all the way here only to meet such a fool. It was really a waste of his mood. Is that all you've got? When the light dissipated, Li Zongjio, who was trapped by the lightning bolts, opened his eyes. The clothes on his body were a little tattered. However, Li Zongjio's body was not injured at all. It was as if the power just now had been completely digested by Li Zongjio. How is this possible? Chapter 548. Lei Gong's eyes were filled with shock. It was simply unbelievable that Luo Yunyang was able to withstand the powerful attack of his lightning power. However, Lei Gong quickly revealed a smile at the corner of his eyes. Hehe, it's good that you are not dead. If you had died too early, I wouldn't have found it challenging at all. How could I be excited? Lei Gong said slowly. He had come all the way here. If he were to just go back after completing the mission, it would be too boring. Didn't you wield my Thunder Slayer blade before? Today, I'll show you the true power of my Thunder Slayer blade. Lei Gong shouted angrily as the Thunder Slayer blade and the thunder-bursting sword appeared in his hands. After the two great lightning-attributed divine weapons combined, a crazy power immediately surged out. Suddenly, a lightning lion jumped out of the thunder-beheading blade. The lightning lion bared its fangs and brandished its claws. The lightning lion's chest was formed by the lightning power and looked extremely ferocious. At the same time, the power of the thunder-bursting sword was poured into the thunder eagle behind it. Buzz! The thunder eagle folded its wings and landed on the lightning lion. When Li Zongjio saw this, he finally understood why Lei Gong wanted to keep the thunder-slash-saber instead of forging another one. It was because the Thunder Slayer blade contained a trace of Yuan spirit power. In this way, the Thunder Eagle and Thunder Lion would become Lei Gong's origin spirit, and he would be able to use all of them. Looks pretty good. Li Zongjio raised his eyelids. Lei Gong's strength continued to spread. Obviously, the constant release of Lei Gong's aura made everyone feel a strong pressure. Even Li Zongjio felt that his body seemed to be excited. After all, it had been a long time since his rebirth, and he had rarely met an opponent that could excite him, even though his mind power had broken through to the Yuan monarch level. At the same time, his Yuan spirit had reached the peak of the Yuan ancestor level. Even if he was facing Yuan monarchs, he would be able to kill them easily. When Li Zongjio encountered Lei Gong's strength made Li Zongjio feel his long-awaited battle blood burning. Li Zongjio's gaze sharpened. So what if he was a Yuan king? In Li Zongjio's eyes, he was just a piece of trash that could be killed with a flip of his hand. He was just an ant. It was just that his current realm had not yet recovered to that level. But the way he looked at him in the past would not change. So this is the feeling of having two great origin spirits. Lei Gong laughed heartily. This was Lei Gong's idea. He wanted to use this method to increase his strength. Since he couldn't increase his strength vertically, he would make a breakthrough horizontally, through the enhancement of the weapon's power. To increase one's own strength, or even the number of primordial spirits, this kind of idea was very rare. Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the two primordial spirits. The thunderous lion and thunderous hawk pounced towards Li Zongjio. Roar! The thunderous lion roared angrily, and at the same time, a lightning wave rushed out. Wang! Li Zongjio's body did not move, because he was still bound by the chains in Lei Gong's thunder domain. Li Zongjio was not allowed to break free. Instead, he continued to be bound. The lightning ball suddenly fell on Li Zongjio's body. Immediately, thunder rumbled and trapped Li Zongjio within. Boom! Li Zongjio's body was immediately flooded by the terrifying lightning power. Even with Li Zongjio's strong willpower, it was difficult for him to resist this power. Li Zongjio immediately let out a low growl. His body was frantically circulating the ancient tyrannical golden body technique. He was constantly absorbing and digesting the power that was pouring into his body. It gave people an extremely shocking feeling. However, before the thunderous lion's attack landed, the thunderous hawk suddenly released a lightning clone from the white crane's body. With a boom, it suddenly fell on Li Zongjio's body. Li Zongjio once again endured a heavy lightning attack. This time, Li Zongjio almost fainted. Because the power was too great, Li Zongjio's body fell from the sky. He was struck out of the thunder domain by his own move. What kind of strength was that? Li Zongjio's body fell from the sky. With a bang he fell to the ground. Lei Gong rode on the thunderous lion, and the thunderous hawk also flapped its wings and landed on Lei Gong's shoulder. The power of the two primordial spirits gushed out. My assumption was correct. The Tao of weapons is the true path to power. Lei Gong was not only a Yuan monarch elite, but he was also a top-notch weaponsmith on this continent. While he was obsessed with training his skills, what he wanted even more was to be able to reach a higher level in weapon forging. This kind of strength was the true path to the pinnacle. Only by constantly strengthening and forging this powerful weapon would he be able to make himself stronger. Now he could exert the power of the two primordial spirits just by controlling 2 weapons. What would happen if he controlled 3 or even 4 weapons? How terrifying would that be? The lack of natural primordial spirits would gradually be made up for by his own weapons. This was the true path to strength. People could not help but be shocked. Li Zongjio fell from the sky like a pitiful worm that was charred black. You can't even block one of my moves. Haha. I'm afraid there aren't many people in this world who can block one of my moves. At the moment, Lei Gong was exuding a strong self-confidence that permeated the area. However, Lei Gong could also sense that many people in the direction of Sacred Flame Royal City were also paying attention to this place, even though they had yet to appear. They knew that this was the workshop master of the Bright Lightning Craftsman Workshop. Now that Lei Gong had such great power and mastered this method, he only needed to spread it casually to bring about a great shock and influence. Even the structure of many places would change because of this. In the Imperial Palace, an old man in a grayish-black robe stood on the roof of a tall building, looking at the thunderbolt force that was condensing in the sky. At the moment, there was a trace of shock between his brows. What a strong willpower! Qing Yuan Villa, Bright Lightning Craftsman Workshop. A mere workshop master already has such strength. If the strength of Qing Yuan Villa is not restrained, it will be like a plague of locusts. The old man's eyes were filled with worry. The old man was obviously thinking about the disaster that would follow after such a thing happened. Looking at the recent happenings in the city, they were all related to this Qing Yuan Villa. The matter that Li Zongjio had stirred up might be relatively big, but in reality, there were also many other things happening in other parts of the city. As these various matters continued to overlap, they actually became a protective screen for each other. For example, the Shi clan, one of the 4 great clans, actually changed dynasties and entered the auction and pawn industries on a large scale, snatching away many customers. And the one who supported them was Qing Yuan Villa. Chapter 549. Anyone could see the wild ambition of Qing Yuan Manor. However, there was no need to worry about this wave of forces that had invaded the city. Those who were able to survive in Monarch City all had their own capabilities. If they were defeated so easily, they wouldn't have been able to survive for so long. Therefore, there was no need to worry. It was just a temporary wave. However, Lei Gong's appearance caused many people in the city to become nervous. In the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, on the top floor of the library, the old man was also standing in the cold wind. His body swayed as he looked at the scene in front of him. If I'm not wrong, the one who just went out was that kid. The old man in the library thought to himself. He used to be in Yuan Emperor Powerhouse. Although his cultivation level had fallen, his senses were still there. When Li Zongjio rushed out, he instantly felt Li Zongjio's movements. At the same time, he was extremely surprised by Li Zongjio's strength. He was actually able to raise his strength to such a level. How long has it been? His mind power has actually broken through to the Yuan monarch realm. The old man was shocked. This was obviously a huge potential. Even though he knew that Li Zongjio's strength was not bad, he did not expect it to be to this extent. Then the old man saw Li Zongjio being shot down from the sky. That outcome could only be described with the word miserable. Therefore the old man frowned. Ouch! This time it's really tragic. Obviously, the old man was gloating. At the same time, He had no intention of helping Li Zongjiu. Given the kid's strength and character, he would not put himself in danger so easily. Moreover, from the beginning until now Li Zongjiu had not attacked at all. It was as if he was an extremely perverted masochist. He actually stayed where he was and allowed his opponent to attack him. Such a person was really rare in the world. Could it be that he wanted to use this method to subdue his opponent? That would be too whimsical. Egret manner. The Howling Moon Wolf King got up abruptly and roared in the direction of the lightning aura. Unlike his usual carefree image, his entire body was emitting an extremely dangerous aura. When others sensed it, they would not dare to approach. "Brother, what's wrong?" The Shadow Fox walked out and looked at the Howling Moon Wolf King in shock. He could not believe that the latter would appear in such a state. He had never seen the Howling Moon Wolf King behave in such a manner under normal circumstances. However, the Howling Moon Wolf King did not make any other moves. He still looked ferocious. Baring its teeth, its claws dug deep into the ground. It was obvious that it had sensed the power of the other party. At the same time, it also sensed that its master seemed to be in danger. However, it had no way to help and could only wait in place. This was because Li Zongjiu's strong will had made the Howling Moon Wolf King wait in place. In the back mountain of the Qi family, in a manner that was like a sea of purple flowers, the girl was cultivating in the sea of flowers. Her aura was like that of a big tree. She embedded her roots into the ground and used this method to increase her strength. This was Qi Yinran's unique way of cultivation, and it was exactly this way. Just 2 days ago, Qi Yinran completed a breakthrough in the cultivation of her original spirit. In fact, at that time, Li Zongjiu had already helped Qi Yinran to complete most of the difficult breakthroughs. Only the last step was left. As long as one was not very stupid and had low aptitude, they could easily break through the last obstacle. Qi Yinran deliberately delayed it for a few days and had a good understanding of it before making the final breakthrough. Qi Yinran did not even tell anyone about this secret. Even his father had never told him about it. Therefore, Qi Yinran also stabilized her condition. This was because if such a secret was revealed, it would definitely attract the attention of others. It was inevitable that the walls would have ears. Therefore, the best way to keep it a secret was to not tell a single person. A battle between Yuan King level experts? Qi Yinran opened her eyes and woke up from her cultivation. She did not know why, but there was a strange feeling in her body. It was this feeling that made Qi Yinran feel uneasy. Qi Yinran was quite amazed by the intense battle fluctuations that filled the air. "Let's go and take a look." Qi Yinran immediately made up her mind. If she had the longevity tree with her, she would have a certain degree of security. That was why she dared to go and spy on them. Outside the city, a huge pit appeared where Li Zongjiu's body landed. Li Zongjiu, who was lying in the pit, seemed to have lost all signs of life. He could not move at all. His whole body was charred, as if he was being roasted by charcoal. Even Li Zongjiu himself was astonished. "This power is not bad. I almost didn't make it." Li Zongjiu opened his eyes. He thought to himself. At the same time, the power in his body was frantically condensing. It directly allowed Li Zongjiu's damaged injuries to gradually recover. His whole body was also undergoing an intense transformation. However, Li Zongjiu was unable to accumulate power now. Instead, in this extremely critical state, the only thing he could use was his mind power. Lei Gong felt that the scene below, which was originally deathly silent, was gradually emitting a terrifying power at this moment, and was constantly rising. This surprised Lei Gong. "Oh, you're not dead yet. Did you eat an elixir? How can you be so strong?" Lei Gong's heart was clearly filled with astonishment and shock. However, he had been here for too long, and must have attracted the attention of the people in the imperial city. Therefore, he had to kill Li Zongjiu first. Then he could leave directly. Otherwise, staying here for a long time would definitely bring some unnecessary trouble. However, your days have come to an end. Lei Gong growled as the Thunderfall sword in his hand slashed down towards Li Zongjiu. Boom! The terrifying power of the Thunderfall sword immediately swept towards Li Zongjiu below. Just as the thunderous sword light was about to engulf Li Zongjiu, suddenly, a powerful force appeared above Li Zongjiu's head. It seemed that the appearance of a boundless tree directly helped Li Zongjiu block this attack. Li Zongjiu himself was slightly taken aback as well. He had not expected someone else to make a move. Looking at the swaying longevity tree that was enduring the power of thunder, Li Zongjiu had a rough idea of who had arrived. He actually found a helper. Lei Gong looked down at the situation below. The appearance of the giant tree also surprised Lei Gong. He also felt an extraordinary and domineering power from the tree. However, the tree itself had not yet grown, so it did not pose a threat. I didn't expect that another one would come to die. Chapter 550. Who was Lei Gong? Even Qingyuan Villa had to spend a lot of money to poach him. With such strength and status, he was actually ignored by these two youngsters. The person who helped Li Zongjiu block the attack was Qi Yinran. After this attack, Qi Yinran felt that her qi and blood were about to become chaotic. She almost fainted in an instant. Fortunately, the longevity tree was able to channel the terrifying power underground. She didn't directly explode and die. She even fainted. But Qi Yinran also knew that the person in front of her was powerful. Who are you? You hurt my friend. Qi Yinran shouted in a low voice. She was also preparing an origin tool in her hand. There seemed to be a terrifying power condensing on the origin tool. But it needed time. Lei Gong looked at the girl below. She actually dared to take the initiative to provoke him. He suddenly snorted. Since you want to be a pair of lovebirds, I'll fulfill your wish. Without further ado, Lei Gong slashed down with the thunder-breaking sword in his hand. Boom! The Thunder Eagle released the terrifying power of thunder. Unexpectedly, Lei Gong was also a man of few words. Water shield wall. Qi Yinran threw out a dark blue bead, which immediately flew out. With a swoosh, the bead in his hand suddenly met the bolt of lightning. Bang! A water curtain appeared above her head. When it spread out, it was instantly devoured by the terrifying lightning. When the lightning completely burned the wall of water, Lin Fan's eyes lit up. Lei Gong lowered his head and saw that there was a cloud of thick fog below the ground. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yinran had already disappeared. Disappeared? Do you think you can escape? Insignificant skill. Lei Gong suddenly snorted. Then, a powerful force spread out, trying to find Li Zongjiu and Qi Yinran. But after searching around, there was no trace of them within a radius of 1,000 meters. Ha! Lei Gong immediately frowned. How dare these two Jianghu juniors act so arrogantly in front of him? To think that they would play such a trick of disappearing. How could they get past them? Go! The bursting thunder sword in Lei Gong's hand suddenly slipped out of his hand. With a boom, he landed on the ground. Boom! Immediately, he saw the terrifying thunderbolt power, which was like a flash flood and tsunami, exploding the ground below and turning it over. It was enough to see the power that constantly emerged from it. It was like a bulldozer that repeatedly turned the surrounding land over and over again. Rumble! Under such pressure, two figures were directly sent flying out from under the huge rock. Originally, Qi Yinran had used an Earth origin tool that could help them conceal their aura. It was also quite effective in disguise. However, he couldn't avoid such a carpet bombing, so he was directly blasted away, revealing his true form. Moreover, Qi Yinran was also seriously injured by the explosion just now. A trace of blood slowly flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Ahem! There was a trace of horror in Qi Yinran's eyes, but more importantly she was calm. This time, she had to admit that it was an extremely reckless act. But there was no other way. She had to do this. Otherwise Li Zongjiu would have died on the spot. You brat, you always bring me big trouble every time. Until now, Li Zongjiu had not woken up. His body was still stiff, and she didn't know what kind of bad disease it was. If Qi Yinran wanted to escape by herself, she had a certain way to escape easily. However, Qi Yinran couldn't just leave by herself. In that case, Li Zongjiu would be dead. Li Zongjiu saved her once, so no matter what, she couldn't give up on Li Zongjiu. This was obviously an unwise choice. Even Qi Yinran herself didn't know why she rushed out. Originally, she had no relationship with Li Zongjiu. If it was some small trouble, she would naturally be happy to help Li Zongjiu solve these problems. But who knew that Li Zongjiu would encounter such a life and death crisis so often? Now that she had taken action, even if she said that she didn't know Li Zongjiu, it was impossible for her to leave directly. Therefore, Qi Yanran didn't plan to leave at all. Boom! Lei Gong's figure descended and pulled out the bursting thunder sword that was stuck in the ground. The surrounding soil had already become quite fragile. At the same time, there was a burnt smell. Some of the creatures that lived underground were directly burned to a crisp. Looking at your original spirit, it seems to be of the wood attribute. Just as well. I'm going to forge a wood attribute weapon for my next weapon. I'll take your original spirit back and use it as the weapon's spirit. Lei Gong said with a sneer. Qi Yanran's eyes revealed a trace of horror. Weapon original spirit. The person in front of her actually used the original spirit of a human's original spirit to integrate into the weapon. She didn't expect that there would be such a vicious method in this world. Qi Yanran also knew that there were all kinds of people in this world. But Lei Gong's method was absolutely cruel, wantonly depriving others of their cultivation results. Such an act would, after all, arouse the public's anger. ZZ. The combination of the Thunder Eagle and Thunder Lion appeared again. Immediately, the surroundings were filled with a strong magnetic field. It seemed that an extremely powerful gravitational force had appeared and wanted to strip the original spirit from Qi Yanran's body. Damn it! This force! Qi Yanran felt that this force was so strong that it seemed to want to suck her out. Immediately, she let out a low shout and released all the power of the longevity tree to resist this force. In the process of resisting, the power of the longevity tree gradually erupted. Oh, it's actually a king-level original spirit. I really didn't expect that the Sacred Flame Royal City is really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Even Lei Gong was surprised by Qi Yanran's potential. At such a young age, she directly obtained a level 5 original spirit. This was a very rare thing. However, Qi Yanran's talent also aroused the desire in Lei Gong's heart. Come, such a young king-level original spirit. You must have more potential in the future. Your original spirit, I want it. Lei Gong snorted coldly. The Thunder Eagle under his command suddenly flew out and leaped out in an instant. Boom! A bolt of lightning, like a terrifying ray of light, quickly flew to the front of Qi Yanran. Only by seriously injuring Qi Yanran, it would be easier to forcibly seize her original spirit. Therefore, the Thunder Eagle also directly crashed into Qi Yanran's chest. Qi Yanran parted a branch of the longevity tree. She wanted to block it, but Qi Yanran also knew that it was impossible. The branch of the longevity tree rolled. Whoosh! Suddenly, the Thunder Eagle was restrained by a force. Qi Yanran could even see the Thunder Eagle's eyes at a close distance in front of her. However, the Thunder Eagle seemed to be imprisoned. There was no way to move at all. And there was no power that could be released to hurt Qi Yanran. How could this be? Qi Yanran was shocked, but soon she understood why. When she was about to look back, she found a hand gently patting her shoulder. Although the strength was not strong, it gave Qi Yanran an unprecedented sense of security in her heart. You've worked hard. Leave the rest to me. When she looked back, she saw Li Zongjiu's eyes seem to reveal a deep power. It was just a glance, but she could already feel that at this moment, Li Zongjiu had already arrived in an insolent and arrogant manner. It was as if a king hidden in the dark world had finally taken off his mask, walked out of the sacred palace, and descended to the world. Chapter 551. The Thunder Eagle was restrained by a powerful force. Lei Gong could feel it clearly, because the Thunder Eagle was his own origin spirit. Mental strength. The thing that controlled the Thunderhawk was an extremely powerful spiritual force. He directly locked the Thunderhawk in place. His mental power had sealed the space around the Thunder Eagle, causing it to struggle in such an environment, making it difficult for it to escape. When Li Zongjiu woke up again, his aura was completely different. Although he could make a move just now, it took a certain amount of effort to adjust his power to perfection. Otherwise, it would leave some effects that were difficult to eliminate in the future. Qi Yanran's appearance helped Li Zongjiu win this crucial time. That was why she stabilized the power. Li Zongjiu stepped forward and grabbed the Thunder Eagle's original spirit by the neck. This hand directly penetrated the space and caught the Thunder Eagle's original spirit in front of him. The terrifying power of the Thunder Eagle's original spirit also crazily spread to Li Zongjio's body. Rumble, however, when the power of thunder and lightning poured into his body, there was no movement. It seemed that there was only some insignificant power spreading. The power in his body shook easily and suppressed the power of the Thunder Eagle's original spirit. Immediately, the power returned to the Thunder Eagle's body. Boom! The Thunder Eagle's body was directly blown away and fell to the ground with a bang. Seeing this scene, Qi Yanran was shocked. Her longevity tree had no power to fight back in front of the Thunder Eagle. It could only passively take a beating and barely carry out a certain degree of defense. She never expected that Li Zongjio would actually blow away the Thunder Eagle after waking up. At the same time, he also broke the surrounding thunder and electromagnetic field. Qi Yanran breathed a sigh of relief and quickly sat down to recover her longevity tree's consumption. The struggle just now had consumed a great amount of power, causing the longevity tree to be slightly injured. Fortunately, the longevity tree's recovery ability was very strong. Therefore, Qi Yanran's injury was not serious. After all, the longevity tree was a true tree king. While sitting cross-legged to recover, Qi Yanran raised her head and looked in the direction of Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio easily beat up the Thunderhawk, causing it to be seriously injured. When it fell to the ground, the light on its body was incomparably dim. Lei Gong was also very surprised that Li Zongjio could still stand up. At the same time, he also felt that Li Zongjio's condition seemed to be somewhat different. Your strength, you were actually able to make a breakthrough in battle. This kind of opportunity to make a breakthrough in battle was very rare. Often, in this kind of crisis, they would suddenly find a way to break through their own bottleneck and then directly reach the sky in one step. It was this kind of strength that made Lei Gong feel very surprised. What a pity. If you join Qingyuan Manor, you will definitely have a brilliant future. But today you must die. With your growth speed, it won't be long before you can kill me. It's too dangerous. Lei Gong was also a person who loved talents. When he discovered that Li Zongjio actually had such talent and potential, and could still stand up tenaciously under such pressure, no matter where such a person went, he would have an extremely bright future. If Qingyuan Manor could use him, it would naturally be a good thing. But now, it seemed that he could only kill Li Zongjio. Qingyuan Manor is nothing. Li Zongjio could not help but sneer. His eyes were filled with disdain. Then he looked at Lei Gong and said indifferently, "This sovereign is magnanimous. I will allow you to make one more move." Then Li Zongjio waved his hand, motioning Lei Gong to attack him. Who was Lei Gong? He became famous at a young age, and now, his reputation was even more well known in the world. How many people in the world did not know that the weapons produced by his Bright Thunder workshop were unparalleled in the world? But this arrogant kid actually thought that he could compete with him. And he was so arrogant to let him make the first move. Then, I will let you know what is called true strength. When I tear your mouth apart later, I'd like to see if you can still say such arrogant words. Lei Gong immediately let out a cold snort. Then he abruptly unleashed his attack. Boom! The thunderous lion rushed out ferociously, and the lightning light wave in its mouth had already been prepared. Li Zongjio's figure flashed and appeared in front of the thunderous lion. The thunderous lion had just opened its mouth and was about to spit out the lightning light wave, but the sudden appearance of Li Zongjio really startled it. It almost swallowed the lightning wave back into its body. Swallow it back for me. Li Zongjio directly stretched out his hand and covered the thunderous lion's mouth. The lightning light wave did not have a chance to be spat out and was directly trapped in Li Zongjio's mouth. Boom! The thunderous lion also seemed to have intelligence. It opened its eyes wide and felt the attack of this power in disbelief. In an instant it swallowed it back into its stomach. A violent roar resounded. An extremely tragic explosion set off at the scene. The thunderous lion's stomach was directly blown open, and it was torn apart on the spot. Only its head was intact. The thunderous lion's figure also gradually disappeared, because its power could no longer maintain its form. Instead, it was all integrated into the thunderous blade. and it once again became the blade spirit of the thunderous blade. It was not an easy task to completely erase the power of the Yuan spirit. However, it could be beaten to the point that it could not reveal its original form, and it would always be in a state of serious injury. Perhaps it would take hundreds of years for the injury to recover. Of course, the premise was that someone had to constantly nurture it and let it obtain the power to be reborn. And if there was no one to take care of it, the power of the Yuan spirit would also disappear one day. The thunderous blade itself had also lost its luster. Under such circumstances, Lei Gong immediately pulled out the thunderous sword upon seeing this. He circulated his Yuan power, and the sharp sword that contained the fury of thunder suddenly slashed down from the sky, as if it wanted to destroy the power between heaven and earth. "You have already used up your move," Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. As his voice fell, Li Zhongjiu's figure rushed out once again. Lei Gong's sword was already very fast, but Li Zhongjiu's speed was even faster. His figure instantly appeared in front of Lei Gong, and the sword slashed down. "My thunderous sword slash can split mountains and rivers. Break your mother's head." Facing the sword, Li Zhongjiu directly punched out. Bang! This kind of action was simply suicide in the eyes of ordinary people. Who would be stupid enough to use their own fist to fight against someone else's blade? And Li Zhongjiu was just like that. The moment he punched out, Qi Yinran saw it, and even thought about how to collect Li Zhongjiu's corpse. However, in the blink of an eye, the thunderous sword in Lei Gong's hand flew out, and with a swoosh, it directly pierced into a mountain ridge. What? Lei Gong, whose hand was empty, immediately realized that things were not good. When did Li Zhongjiu's physical strength become so strong? Could it be that his hand was made of millennium meteoric iron? All of a sudden, Li Zhongjiu extended his hand and grabbed Lei Gong, bringing him in front of him. Then he threw him over his shoulder. The strength of his whole body was also loaded onto Lei Gong's body. In an instant, a loud bang was heard. A terrifying force spread out from the ground and whizzed forward. Bang! 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 The airwaves spread out hundreds of meters, and the cracks on the ground were densely packed like a spider web. Seeing this scene, Qi Yinran could not help but feel a wave of pain. At this moment, when his body landed, it was likely that all the bones in his body had already been shattered. Were people nowadays also violent? Chapter 552. Li Zhongjiu threw Lei Gong to the ground. Lei Gong's internal organs were severely injured, but he still managed to hold on. Lei Gong spat out a mouthful of blood on his clothes. He grabbed Li Zhongjiu's sleeve tightly. "You!" In the next moment, Li Zhongjiu lifted his leg and gave Lei Gong a flying kick, sending him flying 100 meters away. Bang! This could be considered a heavy blow to Lei Gong, causing him to be in a semi-conscious state. He was unable to speak for a long time. When Lei Gong stood up, he deeply felt the pain this time. The owner of the Bright Thunder Workshop, one of the giants of the Qingyuan Villa, was beaten up like a drowning dog. However, Li Zhongjiu did not feel proud at all, because in his eyes, there was no such thing as arrogance. In his eyes, whether it was the Origin ancestors, Origin generals, Origin kings, or even the Origin emperors in the future, they were nothing in Li Zhongjiu's eyes. They were just a bunch of trash waiting to be slaughtered. If you could reach the absolute saint realm, you would be able to make Li Zhongjiu pay attention to you. Although Li Zhongjiu didn't reach the absolute saint realm in his previous life. However, his strength was already at the peak of the Supreme Being realm. Otherwise, how could he kill the four supremacies of the Dragon Clan? Doing such a thing was basically challenging the entire Dragon Clan. In this continent, it was considered one of the most outrageous acts. However, if Li Zhongjiu hadn't swallowed the elixir and wanted to completely refine the four dragon souls, Li Zhongjiu wouldn't have died at that time. While Lei Gong was still in a daze, he knew that he was done for this time. This Li Zhongjiu was actually so secretive. Enduring the intense pain all over his body, Lei Gong finally took out a medicinal pill from the storage ring. After consuming it, he felt that his body was slightly better. He got up with difficulty. His physical quality wasn't weak, and he was also a blacksmith, so his body didn't collapse so quickly. However, it wasn't easy to kill Li Zhongjiu. It wouldn't be easy even if he wanted to leave now. Li Zongjie walked forward and picked up the thunder-bursting sword. The true power of the bursting thunder sword had yet to be unleashed. Just as Lei Gong had said before, the bursting thunder sword still needed to undergo some kind of tempering. Only after tempering would it truly possess an unstoppable sharpness. However, it was a pity that Lei Gong wouldn't have the chance to temper this sword. Li Zongjie gently waved the thunder-bursting sword in his hand at this moment. Suddenly, a strong murderous aura spread out and shook slightly. Lei Gong stood up straight and looked at Li Zongjie. Although he felt extremely surprised, he wasn't afraid at this moment. How could he, the owner of the Bright Thunder Workshop, die here so easily? Don't forget Lei Gong's own identity and status, coupled with the identity of Qingyuan Villa. If he were to die, then Qingyuan Villa would suffer an enormous loss. Therefore, Lei Gong wasn't afraid of the latter. If Li Zongjie wanted to kill him, he would have to go through Qingyuan Manor first. Li Zongjie didn't continue to approach with the sword in his hand. It seems that you're only relying on the primitive emperor's avatar. Li Zongjie looked up at the sky and sneered. The corners of Li Zongjie's mouth curled into a cold smile. There was a figure hidden in the void. Li Zongjie's mind power had already broken through to the Yuan King realm. He was also quite sensitive to the surroundings. At this moment, the power that Li Zongjie could sense had already discovered this figure. This person wouldn't make a move unless it was absolutely necessary. Lei Gong had also thought of this. If he, a blacksmith master, was accidentally killed when he went out, or if he relied on someone, it would be a great loss to the Qingyuan Villa. Therefore, they had to send people to protect him. At the same time, they also had to act as a form of surveillance. Therefore, Lei Gong wasn't afraid of Li Zongjie killing him. Lei Gong was surprised when he saw Li Zongjie looking up at the sky. How did Li Zongjie know? Could it be that he was able to sense the presence of this primitive emperor? However, judging from Li Zongjie's behavior, it seemed like he didn't take the primitive emperor seriously. He even wanted to provoke the other party. Such an attitude was undoubtedly too arrogant. Wind and clouds gathered in the sky. As it condensed, Li Zongjie immediately felt a strong aura descending from the sky. The descent of this tyrannical will immediately made Li Zongjie and Qi Yanran, who was still behind him, wary. When Qi Yanran felt this vast power, she realized that this level was actually beyond the range of what she could accept. Qi Yanran had never thought that her level was low. However, when she came out to interfere with Li Zongjie today, she immediately encountered a Yuan monarch. In fact, this was enough to make Qi Yanran somewhat fearful. Some of Qi Yanran's opponents were only at the origin ancestor level, and had yet to reach the level of a Yuan monarch. At this moment, she didn't expect to encounter a veteran Yuan monarch. Now, just this sudden display of power was enough to make Qi Yanran feel deeply shocked. The power in front of her was a terrifying aura that spread like the mountains and seas. Primitive emperor. Realm. Qi Yanran's eyes narrowed. Such a vast and boundless aura had to be from a Yuan monarch. Even the Qi family didn't have such a powerhouse. I'm doomed. This was the next thought in Qi Yanran's mind. In addition to admiring Li Zongjie's ability to provoke enemies, she also understood that it would be difficult for her to survive today. However, looking at Li Zongjie's arrogant look, it seemed like he already knew and didn't care about the other party at all. Could it be that Li Zongjie was prepared to give up? Otherwise, Li Zongjie wouldn't have the strength to fight against a Yuan monarch powerhouse. The figure that emerged didn't speak. This clone couldn't be used for long, and it must be very risky to attack in the vicinity of the sacred flame royal city. Therefore, the Yuan monarch phantom didn't say anything and slapped down with his palm. Boom! Tens of thousands of meters high in the sky, a terrifying aura that could destroy the heavens was transmitted over. The force that suddenly descended seemed as though it was about to swallow a person. However, this power was controlled within a certain range and didn't spread too much. It directly slashed down on Li Zongjie. Qi Yanran, who was behind him, was also enveloped. Great timing. I can't wait to see how strong this flesh is. Li Zongjie's eyes were burning with fighting spirit. At this moment, there seemed to be a golden light all over his body, and a golden light flashed in his eyes. The skin under his clothes had already been covered by the golden lines. Li Zhongjiu's power also erupted from the inside out. Dragon Cannon Fist. When the power of this punch condensed in his hand, it was as if a golden dragon was being held in Li Zhongjiu's palm. At this moment, it suddenly bloomed and shot directly towards the sky. Even the Yuan monarch's clone was shocked. Chapter 553. The moment Li Zhongjiu's Dragon Cannon Fist was unleashed, it seemed as though a golden dragon was pulling the power of the earth and soaring into the sky. With a loud bang, it collided with the palm of the Yuan Emperor's avatar. There was an earth-shattering sound of collision. At this moment, the terrifying power caused everyone to feel excited. It was as if someone had used a fist to violently hammer their hearts. What? The Yuan Emperor's avatar saw a ray of light rushing towards him. That terrifying Dragon Cannon Fist had actually directly penetrated his palm, transformed into a golden dragon, and directly destroyed his clone. The Yuan Emperor's avatar was instantly shattered by the impact of the golden dragon. However, before the Yuan Emperor's avatar was completely destroyed, he could clearly feel the power coming from the golden dragon. It was so real that it wasn't caused by any technique, but the true power of the origin spirit. It was just that Li Zhongjiu's move had wrapped this original spirit in it. Because no one had seen Li Zhongjiu's original spirit before, this golden dragon seemed to be a form condensed by this move, and not a real thing in the eyes of ordinary people. However, the Yuan Emperor's avatar could clearly feel the power coming from the origin spirit. It was a true origin spirit. Li Zhongjiu actually possessed a dragon clan's origin spirit. And it was even from the Golden Dragon clan. The Yuan Emperor's avatar could only feel the power before it was destroyed, but it was also destroyed. In the next moment, the Yuan Emperor's avatar disappeared without a trace. However, the power of the giant palm did not weaken in the slightest. Li Zhongjiu did not say anything and directly grabbed Qi Yinran behind him and fled into the distance. It wasn't so easy to fight with the Yuan Emperor's avatar. So Li Zhongjiu could only use this method to deceive the Yuan Emperor's eyes, and finally destroy the latter's power with a punch. It would take a long time to condense another avatar. When Li Zhongjiu flew a few miles away with Qi Yinran, a violent explosion suddenly came from behind. The dust that was stirred up also rushed to 100 meters in the sky. At the same time, the terrifying airwaves that permeated the surroundings were like thousands of galloping horses. They were frantically destroying everything in the surroundings. Whoosh! Li Zhongjiu's figure suddenly landed behind a mountain peak and hugged Qi Yinran. Li Zhongjiu immediately hugged Qi Yinran in his arms. Qi Yinran didn't even react. She didn't understand why Li Zhongjiu would do this. Could it be that this was the aftereffect of practicing martial arts? If so, should she help him? Thinking of this, it seemed to be a very shameful scene. Although Qi Yinran was usually cold, she was also a young girl in a budding state. But the next moment she knew. The mountain peak that the two of them were on was directly shattered in the next second. This was a small mountain peak that was close to 50 meters high. When this terrifying power surged over, he instantly felt the terror of this power. The small mountain peak of more than 50 meters was easily destroyed in an instant. The impact of the stones that exploded in an instant was extremely powerful. This was already a few miles away, but they did not expect the aftermath of this move to be so strong. The terrifying power spread out. Some huge stones directly bombarded Li Zhongjiu's back. Moreover, a powerful shockwave spread out from the ground and rapidly swept forward. Even Li Zhongjiu, who was enduring the continuous bombardment, felt extremely painful. He also held Qi Yinran tightly in his arms. This woman was really a hindrance. If he was alone, it would not be difficult to avoid this move. But Qi Yinran helped him just now, so naturally, he had to protect this girl. This terrifying impact lasted for nearly a minute. Li Zhongjiu's back was already in a state of being riddled with holes, giving off a soul-stirring feeling of terror. However, Li Zhongjiu did not care about his injuries at all. In the process of getting up, the serious injury on his back was gradually recovering. When ordinary people saw this scene, they would feel extremely shocked and incredulous. How could someone have such a powerful self-healing ability? Those fatal wounds were recovering little by little in such an environment. It was simply strange. Qi Yinran finally breathed a sigh of relief and quickly left Li Zongjio's body. There were a lot of ambiguous situations between the two of them. If it continued like this, then Qi Yinran's reputation of innocence would be ruined. Although Qi Yinran did not suffer much damage from the violent explosion just now, her whole body was covered with a lot of dust. She looked dusty and dirty. For a goddess who usually liked to dress up exquisitely, it was rare to see such a scene. You look quite good like this. Li Zongjio could not help but glance at Qi Yinran. In his previous life, Li Zongjio was not interested in relationships. He even deliberately froze his heart. From the moment his family was destroyed, Li Zongjio's heart was completely frozen. Nothing in this world could shake Li Zongjio's heart. But this life was different. Everything was beautiful. And it also allowed Li Zongjio to have a different state of mind and experience some different things. Occasionally flirting with the beauty in front of him was also a way to make him feel relaxed and happy. Shut up. Qi Yinran stomped her feet in anger. What was this? He was clearly laughing at her. She risked her life to save him, but in the end, she was ridiculed by him. Dozens of rays of light rapidly flew across the sky, obviously heading towards the center of the explosion. How could the experts in the city not be alarmed when such a huge incident happened outside the Holy Flame Royal City? Even the experts in the Holy Flame Royal City could clearly feel the intense explosion outside. That was why they had rushed over. Let's go, if you don't want to get into trouble. Li Zongjio looked up and said faintly. At the same time, he also looked back at the original direction. Lei Gong was definitely not dead. Li Zongjio did not care about Lei Gong's life now. Lei Gong's life would be his sooner or later. If he wanted to take it, he could do so at any time. But after this step, he could roughly understand the strength of the experts in Qingyuan Manor. In the initial exchange just now, he could roughly feel the strength of the primitive emperor expert. It was just a first-grade primitive emperor. In the primitive emperor realm, the gap between the grades was quite serious. If the one who attacked today was the clone of a third-grade primitive emperor expert, it would not be easy for Li Zongjio to kill him today. Even if he wanted to retreat, it would not be easy. If it was only a first-grade primitive emperor, Li Zongjio's current strength of a first-grade primitive king. In addition, it was the power of 4 great origin spirits that were used at the same time. It was also possible to fight it head-on. Qi Yinran also knew that this matter involved a lot of things. It was better to leave quickly before anyone saw her. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them took advantage of the night and quietly entered the city. Chapter 554. After entering the city, it was naturally much safer. You're so dirty. Do you want to take a bath at my place? Li Zongjio looked at Qi Yinran and said. Qi Yinran immediately turned around and glared at Li Zongjio. She had never thought that Li Zongjio would have such a hooligan mind. Despicable, Qi Yinran said coldly. Then, she walked forward by herself, leaving Li Zongjio with her back view. Li Zongjio naturally waved his hand helplessly. This could be considered the most embarrassing day of Qi Yinran's life. Li Zongjio also found a nearby inn, asked for a room, took a bath, and slept comfortably for the night. Now that he had finally broken through to the Yuan monarch realm, he would be able to protect himself even within the sacred Flame Royal City. If Li Zongjio was really forced into a corner, he would really be able to do anything. Now, some of the things that Li Zongjio did were not too arrogant. They only involved some low-level interests. Perhaps in the eyes of some people who really held power, Li Zongjio's behavior would lead to him being killed sooner or later. It was unknown how many people wanted to use this method to control the market, and a large amount of money. Perhaps Li Zongjio was in the limelight now. However, one must know that there were many people who wanted to be in the limelight. Among these people, all of them had the opportunity to be in the limelight. Moreover, they were once at the level of ambitious and ruthless characters. To be able to achieve this level was already very good. Although these ambitious and ruthless people had grown to such an extent, when you reach a certain critical value, if you don't know how to restrain yourself and accidentally offend some rules, then what awaits you may be easily beheaded by others. There was no doubt about this. Everything had turned into smoke, vanishing into thin air just like that. Just this point alone was not so easy to grasp, because human desires were endless. In the eyes of many people, perhaps a person similar to a king would appear. But it was definitely not now. Li Zongjiu rested comfortably in the inn for a night. On the second day, when he returned to the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, he discovered that the activity of the Genius Pavilion had not changed. This was because the further one progressed, the more difficult it became. Li Zongjiu wasn't worried at all. It wouldn't be that easy to pass this test. At the same time, he also saw Kuan Erasure, whom he had not seen for a long time. Looking at Kuan Arashi's exhausted face, it was obvious that he had suffered a lot during this period of time. Learning itself was a very painful thing. It was impossible to digest it easily, unless one was as talented as Li Zongjiu. Only then would it be easier to learn. After meeting Kuan Erasure and chatting for a while, Kuan Erasure left directly. There were still many things to deal with on the other side. Learning under Sun Yu was not so easy. By the way, there seems to be an exchange of alchemists in Monarch City next month. It's a banquet. I guess the academy will let you go. What exchange? I'm not free. Li Zongjiu waved his hand. It's a little boring, but I heard that the alchemists who will be present will be given gifts, and there will be a lottery on the spot. The first prize is a 6th grade medicinal herb, Kuan Erasure said. Not only will there be many girls who learn alchemy, but there will also be many influential officials in the imperial court. This is a good opportunity to amaze the world. Moreover, with your identity, they will probably urge you to go. You have to be careful. I heard from my master that many people are jealous of your qualification as an imperial alchemist. Li Zongjiu was disdainful when he heard this. A group of immature brats actually dared to be arrogant in front of him. If they wanted to snatch something from Li Zongjiu, then they should be prepared to have their hands chopped off by Li Zongjiu. I'm quite interested in the 6th grade medicinal herb, Li Zongjiu said. This kind of medicinal herb could only be found by chance. If one did not have a certain channel, then there was no way to get these medicinal herbs. Therefore, Li Zongjiu also cherished this opportunity very much. For now, if he wanted to obtain these medicinal herbs, he would have to go through a lot of channels, and even use some bloody means to get to this level. However, Li Zongjiu was not worried. As long as he reached this level, and the strength of the Great Delight Casino was also increasing bit by bit, there would always be a chance. Moreover, in this Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, there was still a hard-working primitive emperor-level powerhouse. Although the strength of this primitive emperor powerhouse was not as strong as before, and he was only at the peak of the Yuan monarch realm now, Li Zongjiu also knew that if this person's strength recovered, he would definitely be at the primitive emperor realm. Moreover, he was not considered too low in the primitive emperor realm. It was very likely that he was a 4th grade primitive emperor powerhouse. Li Zongjiu had reason to believe that the number of primitive emperor powerhouses in the huge sacred flame royal city was not small. At the very least, there must be at least one primitive emperor powerhouse hidden in the 4 major families. Otherwise, they would not have been able to establish their status. However, the number of people at the 4th grade primitive emperor realm would definitely not be more than 10. Therefore, Li Zongjiu had promised the elder of the library to help him get rid of the poison. This was the poison of the primordial sky scorpion, not a simple poison. Even the primitive emperors could not withstand the poison, let alone detoxify it. Even if they were to get close and inhale a little of it, it would be a more comfortable death for them to die on the spot. In order to get rid of such a poison, Li Zongjiu not only needed high-grade elixir pills to increase his strength, but he also needed to rely on the power of these elixir pills to carry out the last layer of protection. Without this protection, Li Zongjiu would not have dared to deal with such a poison rashly. Of course, if Li Zongjiu's cultivation returned to the supremacy realm, getting rid of such a poison would be as easy as lifting his hand. Alright, I'll head over to Master's place first. You have to pay attention to your safety while you're in the city. I've heard that many people want to deal with you. News about you can often be heard in the academy. Kuan Erishur said. Li Zongjio waved his hand. These small threats were nothing in his eyes. Speaking of settling accounts, Li Zongjio had almost settled all his accounts in the city. Now there was still one account that he had yet to settle. That was the account with the 9th prince, Xian Ming, that he had yet to settle. This billion purple yuan won't be settled so easily. Li Zongjio came out of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor and went to the Great Pleasure Casino first. Chapter 556, Revenge Blindly Searching. Li Zongjio did not know where to find that guy. He couldn't keep releasing his mental strength to search. If he did that, he would be too arrogant. Under the prying of his mental strength, there would be no privacy at all. At this time, the exterior of the Great Pleasure Casino was in a state of renovation. Because of the previous few storms, the Great Pleasure Casino had directly withstood these storms. This was somewhat impressive. It immediately became famous. How could a person who liked to gamble like a small and ordinary place like this? Therefore, the more troublesome a place was, the more they liked it. In such a stimulating environment, they could stimulate their own potential. This was what gamblers were willing to do. Bossly, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you here for a long time. When Li Zongjio walked into the casino, it was obvious that someone had already gone to inform him of his arrival. However, the first person to block his way turned out to be a somewhat familiar middle-aged man. Judging from his attire, he was just an ordinary person. You are. Li Zongjio looked at the middle-aged man in front of him and suddenly frowned in doubt. Not everything was worth remembering by Li Zongjio. Bossly, have you forgotten? A few days ago, I was still at your door. That it's me. That the Tusk Battalion. Wang Ding said repeatedly. How embarrassing is this? I'm also a battalion commander, and I have nearly 5,000 people under me. These 5,000 people are the troops who can enforce the law in King City. Their power is not ordinary. Although under normal circumstances, carrying out a task requires time and opportunity. However, it doesn't mean that there are no other ways to deal with you. Just by colluding with a few people, you can easily not survive in this city. Oh, you're the battalion commander that night, right? Why are you looking for me? Li Zongjio finally remembered. No wonder he looked familiar. Fortunately, the time was relatively recent. Otherwise, Li Zongjio would have a hard time remembering such an unimportant person. Last time I misunderstood Bossly and caused a big fight between us. Therefore, I specially came to apologize to you. In private, I'm still very easy to get along with. My battalion commander position is just an idle position. Wang Ding could not help but say. Then, with a wave of his hand, someone immediately brought over 2 wine jars. The jars were sealed with mud, but the fragrance emitted from the bottle could still be smelled. Good wine. These 2 jars of penetrating bottle fragrance are considered as an apology. In the future, we can still interact more. It's not easy for us to work in the city. We all want to take care of each other. Li Zongjio glanced at Wang Ding, and then looked at the wine jars that were handed over. This Wang Ding was quite tactful. If you're promoted, what's your rank? Li Zongjio did not reach out to take it, but asked directly. I'm the battalion commander of the City Guard Army's Tusk Battalion. The City Guard Army has a total of 7 battalions. If I'm promoted, I'll naturally be the deputy commander. The deputy commander has the authority to directly mobilize 3 battalions. Okay, within half a year, I'll help you become the deputy commander. Within 2 years, I'll make you a battalion commander. As I said, you'll follow me in the future. Li Zongjio said directly. These words did not have the slightest concealment. Fortunately, the people that Wang Ding brought this time were all his own trusted subordinates. If other people heard this, they might directly go back and find someone to deal with him. Wang Ding, the reason is the young master. I'm serving you like a dog. Wang Ding was immediately pleasantly surprised. One must know that Wang Ding's journey was very difficult. The water in the military camp was very deep. If he wanted to solve these things and continue to rise, it would be more difficult than ascending to the heavens. Wang Ding's eyes lit up. Wang Ding's eyes lit up. With Wang Ding's own means, it was just that he could not be promoted so far. As for people like him who had no background and were inferior in terms of means, they would basically be replaced in a short time. This was an environment where talents were changing, and it was not something that one could say that would work. In this regard, Wang Ding was also very clear. If he could not find a backer, his end would be very miserable. Judging from the situation last time, Wang Ding had already smelled something fishy. Therefore, he took the risk and waited here for Li Zongjio to appear. Moreover, he had to obtain Li Zongjio's protection. At present, he only had this bit of value in his hands that could be used. If he couldn't even use this last bit of value, then he would really have reached the end. This road was not easy to walk. It was as if he was treading on thin ice, which made Wang Ding feel extremely painful. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation was too critical, he wouldn't have come to Li Zongjio for help. This was such a shameful thing to do. In the future, he would have to live under Li Zongjio's banner. Judging from the situation last time, if he could rely on Li Zongjio, it would be a way out for his own situation. Li Zongjio's background did not seem to be so simple. Therefore Wang Ding was so persistent. In the future, you will be like them. Just call me young master. I don't need your help for the time being. If you have any trouble that you can't solve, such as military funding or sponsorship, you can come directly to Tai. It just so happened that Tai Feihe was walking down from upstairs. He first greeted Wang Ding, then listened to Li Zongjio's introduction. From the looks of it, he seemed to have dragged a city guard battalion commander into the water. Blindly absorbing power like this was naturally not a stable thing. However, for the current Wanyue casino, if there was a city guard behind it, it would only get smoother and smoother. This was something that was not even a doubt. With Master Wang's addition, our casino has gained another strong pillar. After learning that Wang Ding had joined the casino, Tai looked at Li Zongjio as if he were looking at a deity. He had actually roped in people from the military. Furthermore, as far as Tai knew, Wang Ding had taken the initiative to join them. When had Li Zongjio's name become so famous? This was a very big deal. If military funding is lacking, we just need to hold 1 or 2 military competitions. With the Wanyue casino's funding, there won't be any problems. It will be reasonable and legal. Tai said with a smile. When he heard Tai's words, Wang Ding almost burst into tears. If he could obtain such a large amount of funding, then his position would definitely be stable. Regardless of the cost, there was nothing to be afraid of as long as he had money, upgraded his equipment, and stabilized the morale of his troops. Although it was said to be a formation of the dynasty's military was actually only responsible for a part of the expenditure. The rest of the expenditure would have to be handled by the regiment commanders and battalion commanders themselves. Otherwise, how would they be able to manage all the troops in the country? However, if they did not have the authority of the military, then their troops would not be able to do anything illegal and would be annihilated. The 7 battalions of the City Guard Legion had their own individual troops. It was as if each of them had their own battalion. The battalion commanders of the first 3 battalions were grouped together, while the ones at the back were in pairs. His Tusk battalion was left alone. Originally, this name was quite resounding, but it was unable to keep up with the others. Naturally, it would be ostracized. Thank you, young master. Thank you, brother Tai. Tai was naturally overjoyed. If he wanted to hook up with the City Guard battalion commander, he would have to spend a lot of money and energy if he were to take the initiative to do so. There was even a possibility that he would be caught red-handed and turned upside down. Therefore, this kind of thing usually had to be tested repeatedly before it could succeed. However, because of Li Zongjio, Wang Ding actually took the initiative to join him. It seemed a little out of place. A dignified battalion commander actually joining a small casino. No matter how one looked at it, it did not seem right. However, Wang Ding's foresight was not weak. The casino was secondary. Li Zongjio was the true mountain. Chapter 557. Victory, take care of each other, help each other. Haha. Wang Ding was naturally overjoyed. Although Wang Ding did not take Li Zongjio's promise to heart, now Wang Ding only needed to ensure that there was support behind him, and that no one would stab him in the back. Even if he joined Li Zongjiu, it was impossible for him to wait for Li Zongjiu to help him with everything. There were more things that needed to be done by himself. By the way, do any of you know where the 9th prince is? That kid still owes me 1 billion purple yuan. This debt is not so easily settled, Li Zongjiu said lightly. He had already released the person in advance, so according to the interest, it wouldn't be too much to ask for 2 billion purple yuan, right? This was what Li Zongjiu thought. He even felt that this was too merciful. Since when had he become so reasonable? Although this would earn him the gratitude of others, it would also harm his own interests. Li Zongjiu thought so, and intended to wait for the 9th prince to thank him. The 9th prince's location is usually kept a secret. Even if we were to purchase the information from the Rain Pavilion, it would cost an astronomical price. However, since Battalion Commander Wang is here, it shouldn't be difficult for us to find the 9th prince's whereabouts. As he said this, Taifai looked at Wang Ding. Wang Ding's eyes widened. He had never expected that he would have to pay such a big price to betray the 9th prince. If the 9th prince was killed by Li Zongjiu, Wang Ding would be an accomplice. Li Zongjiu looked at Wang Ding. This was the job of the city guards. Moreover, the status of a battalion commander was not low. If they sent someone to investigate the surroundings, they would be able to get the results very quickly, unless the 9th prince was deliberately hiding his whereabouts. However, given the 9th prince's arrogance, he would not do such a thing so easily. Ahem. Although we have not received any notice of the 9th prince's whereabouts, I know that it is a habit of the 9th prince. Every dark moon in the sky, he will book the entire spring flower and autumn moon pavilion. As for what he is doing, no one knows. However, the 9th prince has always maintained this habit. Wang Ding said. It had to be said that Wang Ding's reaction was extremely fast. In such a situation, Wang Ding had to give an answer. Otherwise, if he stood aside, the 9th prince would not come to collect him. The previous matter of the military expenditure would probably be ruined. However, if he were to reveal his daily whereabouts, he would definitely be able to be traced back to Wang Ding if something were to happen. Then, Wang Ding would be directly implicated, and he would even be sentenced to death for his crimes. Now, Wang Ding only mentioned one of the 9th prince's habits. As long as it was someone familiar with him, they would more or less know about it. Naturally, even if Wang Ding said it, it would not be a threat. It was relatively easy to get rid of this relationship. Perhaps there would be room for struggle and justification. Now that they had just joined, they would have to risk their lives. It would be somewhat unstable. Several people were also well aware that if they revealed everything at the beginning and were honest with each other, they might be deliberately sent by the 9th prince to lure them into the trap. If there was something fishy going on, it would be dangerous. The day of the dark moon is the day of the overcast moon. Isn't tonight the day of the overcast moon? Li Zongjiu pinched his fingers and immediately calculated tonight's weather. It was better to come at the right time than early. This was obviously a very coincidental time. Wang Ding did not know what Li Zongjiu was going to do, but it seemed that he was going to take action. Therefore he smiled and said softly, Young Master Li, after I went back last time, I asked someone to inquire about it. The one who dealt with you that time was not the 9th prince. The 9th prince did not know about this at all. It was someone else. If my information is not wrong, the one who gave the order was the 5th prince. Wang Ding once again threw out a heavy bomb. Taifai at the side was suddenly shocked. Why did the 5th prince intervene again? Could it be that there is a problem related to the 5th prince? Taifai was indeed a little surprised by the 5th prince's sudden intervention. How could such a situation happen? Until now, they did not seem to have angered the 5th prince's sphere of influence, and did not touch the 5th prince's interests. However, the 5th prince's sudden intervention made them a little confused. They looked at Li Zongjiu, but Li Zongjiu also casually waved his hand. What's the big deal? It's the same even if the 5th prince comes. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. It was an arrogant attitude that did not put anyone in his eyes. Chapter 555. Searching blindly. Li Zongjio didn't know where to find that guy. He couldn't keep releasing his mental strength to search. If he did that, he would be too arrogant. Under the prying of his mental strength, there would be no privacy at all. At this time, the exterior of the Boyu Casino was also in a state of renovation. Because of the previous storms, the Boyu Casino had directly withstood these storms, which was somewhat amazing. It immediately became famous. How could a person who liked to gamble like a small and ordinary place like this? Therefore, the more troublesome a place was, the more they liked it. In such a stimulating environment, they could stimulate their own potential. This was what gamblers were willing to do. Oh, Bosley, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you here for a long time. When Li Zongjio walked into the casino, it was obvious that someone had gone to inform him of his arrival. However, the first person to block his way turned out to be a somewhat familiar middle-aged man. Based on his appearance, he was just an ordinary person. You are. Li Zongjio looked at the middle-aged man in front of him, and suddenly frowned in doubt. Not everything was worth remembering by Li Zongjio. Bosley, have you forgotten? A few days ago, I was still at your door. That it was me. That the Tusk Battalion. Wang Ding said repeatedly. How embarrassing is this? I'm also a battalion commander, and I have nearly 5,000 people under me. These 5,000 people are the troops who can enforce the law in Monarch City. Their power is not ordinary. Although under normal circumstances, carrying out a task requires time and opportunity. However, it doesn't mean that there are no other ways to deal with you. Just by colluding with a few people, you can easily not survive in this city. Oh, you're the battalion commander that night, right? Why are you looking for me? Li Zongjio finally remembered. No wonder he looked familiar. Fortunately, the time was relatively recent. Otherwise, it would be difficult for Li Zongjio to remember such an unimportant person. Last time I misunderstood Bosley and caused a big fight between us. Therefore, I specially came to apologize to you. In private, I'm still very easy to get along with. My battalion commander position is just an idle position. Wang Ding couldn't help but say. Then, with a wave of his hand, someone immediately brought up 2 wine jars. The jars were sealed with mud, but the fragrance emitted from the bottle could still be smelled. Good wine. These 2 jars of penetrating bottle fragrance are considered as an apology. In the future, we can still have more interactions. It's not easy for us to be in the city. We want to take care of each other. Li Zongjio glanced at Wang Ding, and then looked at the wine jars. This Wang Ding was really quite reasonable. If you're promoted, what's your rank? Li Zongjio didn't reach out to take it, but asked directly. I'm the battalion commander of the City Guard Army's Tusk Battalion. The City Guard Army has a total of 7 battalions. If I'm promoted, I'll naturally be the deputy commander. The deputy commander has the right to directly mobilize 3 battalions. Okay, within half a year, I'll help you become the deputy commander. Within 2 years, I'll make you a battalion commander. As I said, you'll follow me in the future. Li Zongjio said directly. These words didn't have the slightest intention to hide. Fortunately, the people Wang Ding brought this time were his own trusted subordinates. If other people heard this, they might directly go back and find someone to deal with him. Wang Ding, the reason is the young master. I'm serving you like a dog. Wang Ding was immediately pleasantly surprised. One must know that Wang Ding's journey was very difficult. The water in the military camp was very deep. If he wanted to solve these things and continue to rise, it would be more difficult than ascending to the heavens. Wang Ding's eyes lit up. Wang Ding's eyes lit up. With Wang Ding's own means, it was just that he couldn't be promoted so far. For people like him, who had no status or background, and were inferior in terms of means, it wouldn't take long for him to be replaced. This was a big environment where talents were replaced. It wasn't easy to say what you wanted. In this aspect, Wang Ding was also very clear. If he couldn't find a backer, his end would be very miserable. From the situation last time, Wang Ding had already smelled something fishy. Therefore, he took the risk and waited here for Li Zongjio to appear. Moreover, he had to obtain Li Zongjio's protection. At present, he only had this bit of value in his hands that could be used. If he couldn't even use this last bit of value, then he would really have reached the end. This road was not easy to walk. It was as if he was treading on thin ice, which made Wang Ding feel extremely painful. If the situation wasn't so critical, he wouldn't have come to Li Zongjie for help. This was such a shameful thing. In the future, he would have to be under Li Zongjie's banner. From the situation last time, if he could rely on Li Zongjie, it would be a way out for his own situation. Li Zongjie's background didn't seem to be so simple. Therefore, Wang Ding was so persistent. In the future, you will be like them. Call me young master. I don't need your help for the time being. If you have any trouble that you can't solve, such as military funding or sponsorship, you can come directly to Taifai. It just so happened that Tai Feihe was walking down from upstairs. He first greeted Wang Ding, then listened to Li Zongjie's introduction. From the looks of it, he seemed to have dragged a city guard battalion commander into the water. Blindly absorbing power, like this, was naturally not a stable thing. However, for the current Wanyue casino, if there was a city guard behind it, it would only get smoother and smoother. This was something that didn't even need to be doubted. With Master Wang's addition, our casino has gained another strong pillar. After finding out that Wang Ding had joined, Taifai looked at Li Zongjie as though he were looking at a deity. He had actually roped in people from the military. As far as Taifai knew, Li Zongjie had taken the initiative to join them. Since when had Li Zongjie's name become so famous? This was a very big deal. If there is a shortage of military funding, we only need to hold 1 or 2 military competitions. The Wanyue Casino will fund this. Then there won't be any problems. It will be reasonable and legal. Taifai said with a smile. When he heard Taifai's words, Wang Ding almost burst into tears. If he could obtain such a large amount of funding, his position would be stable. Aside from the cost of bribing, there was nothing to be afraid of as long as he had money, upgraded his equipment, and stabilized the morale of his troops. Although it is said to be a division of the dynasty, in fact, the dynasty is only responsible for a part of the expenses. The other part of the expenses will have to depend on the regiment commanders and battalion commanders. Otherwise, with so many troops in the country, how can they manage all of them? However, if they didn't have the name of the military, they wouldn't be able to establish their own troops. If they were illegal, they would be annihilated. The 7 battalions of the City Guard Corps had their own individual troops. It was as if each of them had their own battalion. The battalion commanders of the first 3 battalions were grouped together, while the ones at the back were grouped in pairs. His Tusk battalion was left alone. Originally, this name was quite impressive, but it was unable to keep up with the others. Naturally, it would be ostracized. Thank you, young master. Thank you, brother Tai. Taifai was naturally overjoyed. If he wanted to hook up with the City Guard battalion commander, he would have to spend a lot of money and energy if he were to take the initiative to do so. There was even a possibility that he would be caught red-handed and turned upside down. Therefore, this kind of thing usually had to be tested repeatedly before it could succeed. But because of Li Zongjie, Wang Ding actually took the initiative to come over. It seemed a little out of place. A dignified battalion commander actually came to seek refuge in a small casino. No matter how one looked at it, it didn't seem right. However, Wang Ding's foresight wasn't weak. The casino was secondary. Li Zongjie was the real mountain. Chapter 556. Take care of each other and help each other. Haha. Wang Ding was naturally overjoyed. Although Wang Ding did not take Li Zongjie's promise to heart, he only needed to ensure that there was a strong support behind him, and that no one would stab him in the back. Even though he had joined Li Zongjie, it was impossible for him to wait for Li Zongjie to help him with everything. There were more things that needed to be solved by himself. By the way, do any of you know where the 9th prince is? That kid still owes me 1 billion purple yuan. This debt is not so easily settled. Li Zongjie said indifferently. He had already released the person in advance, so according to the interest, it wouldn't be too much for him to ask for 2 billion purple yuan. Li Zongjie thought so, and even felt that this was too merciful. Since when did he become so reasonable? Although he would gain the gratitude of others, it would also harm his own interests. Li Zongjie thought so, and intended to wait for the ninth prince to thank him. The ninth prince's location is usually kept a secret. Even if we were to purchase the information from the Rain Pavilion, it would cost an astronomical price. However, since Battalion Commander Wang is here, it shouldn't be difficult to find the ninth prince's whereabouts. Taifai looked at Wang Ding as he said this. Wang Ding's eyes widened. He had never expected that he would have to pay such a big price to betray the ninth prince. If the ninth prince was killed by Li Zongjiu, Wang Ding would be an accomplice. Li Zongjiu looked at Wang Ding. This was the job of the city guards. Moreover, the status of a battalion commander was not low. If they sent someone to investigate the surroundings, they would be able to obtain the results very quickly, unless the ninth prince was deliberately covering his tracks. However, with the ninth prince's pride, he wouldn't do such a thing so easily. Cough cough. Although we haven't received any news about the ninth prince's whereabouts, I know that he has a habit of booking the entire spring flower and autumn moon pavilion every dark moon. As for what exactly he does, no one knows. However, the ninth prince has always maintained this habit. Wang Ding said. It has to be said that Wang Ding's reaction was very fast. In this case, Wang Ding had to give an answer. Otherwise, if he just stood aside, the other party wouldn't come to collect him. Then the matter of the military expenditure would be ruined. However, if he were to reveal his daily whereabouts, he would definitely be traced back to Wang Ding if something were to happen. Wang Ding would be directly implicated, and he would even be punished to death. Now, Wang Ding only revealed one of the ninth prince's habits. As long as it was someone familiar with him, they would more or less know about it. Naturally, even if Wang Ding revealed it, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be a threat. It would be relatively easy to get rid of this relationship. Maybe there would be room for struggle and justification. Now that they had just joined, they would have to risk their lives. It would be somewhat unstable. The few of them were also well aware that if they were to come clean and be honest with each other, they might be deliberately sent by the other party to lure them into the trap. If there were any tricks involved, it would be dangerous. The day of the dark moon is the day of the overcast moon. Isn't tonight the day of the overcast moon? Li Zongjiu pinched his fingers and immediately calculated tonight's weather. It was better to come at the right time than to come early. This was obviously a very coincidental time. Wang Ding didn't know what Li Zongjiu was going to do, but it seemed like he was going to take action. Therefore he smiled and said softly, Young Master Li, after I went back last time, I asked someone to inquire about it. The one who dealt with you that time wasn't the ninth prince. The ninth prince didn't know about this at all. It was someone else. If my information is correct, the one who gave the order was the fifth prince. Wang Ding once again threw out a heavy bomb. Taifai, who was at the side, was suddenly shocked. Why is the fifth prince intervening again? Could it be that there is a problem related to the fifth prince? Taifai was indeed a little surprised by the fifth prince's sudden intervention. How could such a situation happen? Up until now, they didn't seem to have angered the fifth prince's sphere of influence. They didn't even touch the fifth prince's interests. However, the fifth prince's sudden intervention made them a little confused. They looked at Li Zongjiu, but Li Zongjiu just waved his hand casually. What's the big deal? It's the same even if the fifth prince comes. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. It was an arrogant attitude that showed that he didn't put anyone in his eyes. Seeing Li Zongjiu's attitude, Wang Ding was actually a little worried. Such a person was either crazy and fearless, or a fool who didn't know anything. The fact that Li Zongjiu was able to survive until now only showed that he was lucky. At this very moment, Wang Ding's heart was actually a little worried. Was Li Zongjiu really up to it? If he wasn't careful, he might just board a pirate ship and not be able to come back down. Take me to the spring flower and autumn moon tower. Li Zongjiu looked at Wang Ding and said indifferently. Wang Ding was stunned when he heard this. Was Li Zongjiu trying to send him to his death? If he took Li Zongjiu to the spring flower and autumn moon tower to find trouble with the ninth prince, wouldn't that be telling the ninth prince that he, Wang Ding, was unhappy with him and had come to find trouble with him? Immediately, Wang Ding's expression turned extremely ugly. Taifai naturally understood Wang Ding's thoughts. If he didn't want to pay a price and take risks, how could he obtain high returns? Taifai was very clear that if he didn't put in effort and didn't share weal and woe with him, he wouldn't treat him as one of his own. Since he had boarded this ship, he would have to do these things to prove himself. Battalion Commander Wang, please. After saying that, Taifai gestured with his hand. Wang Ding looked at the current situation and knew that he wouldn't be able to walk away so easily. In his heart, he thought that he had boarded a pirate ship. However, he still gritted his teeth. If he couldn't find a way out with Li Zongjio, then Wang Ding's future would be very difficult. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before he was taken down. This way, the few of you go back and deal with the matters first. The rest of you follow me. Wang Ding also brought some people with him. These were all personal guards that he had trained, so naturally they were trustworthy. That was why he brought them to such a place to meet Li Zongjio. If there was really a problem at the scene, then he could kill his way out, so that he could prepare some forces at hand. However, if he went this time, it would be a disaster. It was estimated that he wouldn't be able to return. Therefore, he also ordered a few people with families to leave first. If something happened in a while, it would be terrible. Chapter 557. Wang Ding brought Li Zongjio to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn. Taifai wanted to go with them, but he was rejected by Li Zongjio. After all, the casino needed Taifai to take care of it. Wang Ding and a few of his subordinates brought Li Zongjio to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn. Although the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn was a place for dancing, drinking, and banquets, it was also open during the day. This way, even those who didn't come for pleasure could taste the special delicacies of the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn. It wasn't easy to run a brothel nowadays. Either the ladies had to be pretty, or the delicacies had to be unique. Only these two things could attract different customers. The Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn's top lady was the famous courtesan in the entire Sacred Flame Imperial City. In addition, the delicacies were also very exquisite. The most famous dish was the autumn water mandarin fish. The water for this dish was transported from the long autumn river, which was thousands of miles away. The mandarin fish was fished up every day by specialized fishermen from the Wen River, which was one of the three major rivers of the Xingyan dynasty. It was delivered to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn's kitchen in the shortest time possible. The supply of such dishes was limited every day, and the price was higher with each serving. This was because there were fewer and fewer dishes later on. When Li Zongjio and the others arrived at the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn, the sky was still dark. Since Wang Ding had introduced the autumn mandarin fish, Li Zongjio naturally had to try it. In his previous life, Li Zongjio also liked to eat, but they were all snacks from his hometown. After reaching a higher realm, the things he ate were relatively miscellaneous. Therefore, his appetite wasn't high. If it wasn't a top-notch delicacy, he wouldn't touch it. On the contrary, people at Li Zongjio's realm liked it more when it was strong liquor that was as sharp as knives. Dear guests, please come in. The waiter who came to receive them was dressed normally. However, in the middle of the stairs in the middle of the living room, there was a large platform. On the platform, there were a few women with heavy makeup who were performing a song and dance. Her flamboyant twisting and turning caused some of the drunken people to become intoxicated. The waiter could tell that the gazes of Wang Ding and the others were different. Although they were dressed simply, their steps were filled with a domineering aura. Their gazes were sharp. These people's identities weren't simple, so he didn't dare to neglect them. During the day, the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn was only opened. In the evening, the second floor and the third floor, the second floor and the third floor. The second floor was an Autumn Moon Inn. The second floor was. And the third floor were the rooms had and the others. The third floor had rooms where the smaller rooms had. Rooms in Autumn Moon Pavilion were the small rooms. Small rooms in Autumn Moon Pavilion were rooms. Rooms. Ding. The Autumn and Moon were. An Autumn Moon. They. And an Autumn Moon and the Moon were Autumn and the Sun Moon. An autumn to the place and autumn in the autumn were autumns. For people sat at the same table, while the other three sat at another table. Let's start with 2 autumn mandarin fish, one for each table. Li Zongjiu raised his hand and said. When Wang Ding heard this, his expression changed. People who could come to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon restaurant were naturally not simple. As for the autumn mandarin fish as a famous dish, it was even more extraordinary. He had ordered 2 at once. It might cost more than 100,000 gold coins. Moreover, the price of the second autumn mandarin fish was more than twice the price of the first one. Dear guest, you have a good eye. Our restaurant's famous dish, autumn mandarin fish, is priced according to the current price. The price of this fish is 170,000 gold coins. One fish would cost 170,000 gold coins. Are you robbing me? Wang Ding suddenly slammed the table and glared. He almost drew his sword. After all, Wang Ding was a battalion commander of the city guards. Although he knew that the price here was expensive, he didn't know that it was so outrageously expensive. Because Wang Ding was born in a poor family, he didn't have many connections. How could he have the opportunity to come to such a place to spend money? Therefore, he had only heard of the legends here. Even though he was now a battalion commander, he had a headache every day because of the military expenditure. He had already tightened his belt. How could he have the opportunity to spend money like this? Now that he walked in, he heard that one fish was actually worth 170,000 gold coins. If that was the case, then the life of this fish was equivalent to the lives of 3 soldiers of the Fierce Fang Battalion. If someone in the Fierce Fang Battalion died in the line of duty, they would receive 50,000 gold coins as compensation. Of course, if they performed meritorious service, it would be calculated separately. However, this was the most basic allowance, which was 50,000 gold coins as compensation. And this fish actually costs 170,000 gold coins. It's like this, customer. Because the cooking method of the autumn water mandarin fish is very unique, and the ingredients are very fresh, the price is a little more expensive. The waiter wasn't in a hurry. Of course, he couldn't get into a conflict with this customer. Otherwise, wouldn't he be courting death? Therefore, he still patiently explained with a smile. If this customer suddenly exploded, then there would naturally be people who would deal with him. Perhaps if something were to happen to him, he would be able to receive a large sum of compensation. Therefore, the waiter had a clear plan in his heart. I just charge a little. Naturally, there will be people who will pay the bill. Li Zongjiu waved his hand and said. After Wang Ding came in, his aura was out of tune with the surroundings. They had worked so hard outside to protect the country, but these people were here to be extravagant and wasteful. This really made Wang Ding angry. The Fierce Fang Battalion was the most impoverished battalion in the entire city guard army. Although they naturally wouldn't starve to death in Monarch City, the benefits they received during the holidays were much lesser than others. It was inevitable that they would feel unbalanced. Therefore, Wang Ding felt very apologetic. Li Zongjiu's words were naturally respectful. He immediately sat down. Those guards who were ready to draw their swords also sat down one by one, suppressing their breaths. Li Zongjiu suddenly realized that these people in front of him seemed to be more impulsive than him. Looking at the situation, if it weren't for him being here and holding them back, these people would have directly rushed out and fought with these people. This kind of situation was really unimaginable. Did he directly bring a bunch of firecrackers to eat? The second fish costs 310,000 gold coins. May I ask if you want 1 or 2? The waiter asked again. After all, the price was almost doubled, although this was the usual price. The most important thing was that this kind of aquamarine fish had a symbolic meaning after being ordered. If it was delicious, it was at most a little fresh. Its taste might not be comparable to roast duck, roast chicken or braised pork. Up until now, there were very few people who could order 2 dishes at a time. Although the price was affordable for most people, no one's money was easy to come by. Naturally, they knew how to cherish it. It was already good enough to get 1 fish to taste. After all, ordering 2 fish at once was expensive. Yes, bring them all up. Li Zongjiu was rich and overbearing. He was here to collect debts. This amount of money was nothing to him. You guys learn well now. In the future, you will be collecting my debts. Li Zongjiu said to Wang Ding. Wang Ding couldn't help but smile awkwardly. Collecting debts? Why does it feel a little strange? The waiter quickly reported the menu. Since it had been confirmed, there shouldn't be any problems. If they couldn't afford it after eating, the Spring Flowers and Autumn Moon restaurant wouldn't treat them as a joke. They could make you spit out as much as you want in a minute. Chapter 558. What do you mean? We came from the northeast just to have a bite of this autumn mandarin fish. How dare you say that we don't have it? We've been here for 3 consecutive days. What do you mean? Are you looking down on us from the northeast? A few men in mink fur coats, tiger fur coats, and songhua hats shouted at the waiter who just came. Looking at their attitude, it was impossible to let them go today. Li Zongjio and the others were eating side dishes and watching the show. When Wang Ding saw this scene, he subconsciously wanted to stand up and teach these people a lesson. There were always some people who had an inexplicable self-confidence, thinking that the world was their home, and they could go anywhere. And it seemed that everyone in the world had to give in to them. But that didn't work here. But Wang Ding remembered that he was now a plainclothes officer, and these things didn't need him to do anything. After all, they came here today to settle accounts with the 9th prince. Just by listening to it, it was already very awesome. Open the wine and distribute it to the brothers. Li Zongjio said. The 2 jars of wine that Wang Ding brought just now were the best of the best. At this moment, just by gently removing the mud seal on it, a fragrant aroma was already wafting in all directions. The whole room was filled with the fragrance of the wine. The penetrating bottle fragrance is really worthy of its reputation. The wine in this jar is probably even more fragrant. Li Zongjio suddenly laughed. It was rare to be able to drink such a precious wine. It was indeed a delightful thing. Wang Ding and the others didn't expect that they would also have such an oral taste. Each of them was rubbing their hands together. Everyone poured the wine into their bowls. Even if a drop spilled, they wiped it with their fingers and licked it clean. The wine in the jar in their hands was really quite delicious. It attracted a lot of attention. These 2 jars of wine were specially brought by Wang Ding from his hometown. When he first joined the army, he had already buried the wine. It was only now that the wine was dug up. Smelling the fragrance of the wine, it seemed to remind him of the scene when he first joined the army. It smells so good. Which table is the wine? Let me Zhang Chunyang have a taste. The burly man dressed in mink fur immediately walked over with large strides. Behind him, 5 or 6 burly men followed closely. Looking at their attire, they seemed to be here to do business, but each and every one of them had trained their muscles. They also seemed to be here to open a martial arts school to teach fist techniques. No one knew exactly what kind of background he had. Sir, here's the autumn mandarin fish you ordered. Immediately, 2 plates of autumn mandarin fish were placed on the table between Li Zongjio and the other table. Zhang Chunyang saw that in front of Li Zongjio's table, there was a bowl of autumn mandarin fish that he wanted, but when he ordered, the waiter said that there wasn't any. He immediately felt that he had been played for a fool. Wasn't this provoking him? Immediately, he grabbed the waiter and pulled him up. Fuck your grandmother. Didn't you just say that the autumn water mandarin fish is gone? What the fuck is this? Zhang Chunyang was about 2 meters tall. When he lifted the waiter up, the waiter looked like a little chick that had been lifted up. He was really pitifully small. These are the last 2 mandarin fish. All of them have been ordered by this sir. The waiter hurriedly said. It turned out that today's portion of autumn mandarin fish was all on Li Zongjio's table. No wonder the previous price was so expensive. It was reasonable. However, if Wang Ding was here to eat, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't spend so much money to eat in such a place. There were countless barbecue stalls and supper stalls at the city gate. If he had spent more than 100,000 yuan, he wouldn't know how many roasted kidneys he could eat. 2. Zhang Chunyang casually threw the waiter and his hand away. He grabbed a chair nearby and placed it in front of Li Zongjio's table. He forcibly sat down and just happened to sit beside Wang Ding. I'm Zhang Chunyang, the owner of the Northern Martial School. I specially brought my group of brothers to Monarch City to prepare to open a school for teaching. Unfortunately, before it was opened I was hungry. I heard that the girls here are tender and eat good food, so I came to see. How about this? Each of you eat one fish, and this fish will be taught to a friend of yours. Take it away." When Zhang Chunyang sat down, he was like a giant beast sitting there. Just based on his body alone, he was already much stronger than Wang Ding and the others. When Zhang Chunyang finished speaking, he directly reached out and prepared to take the autumn water mandarin fish away. Wang Ding couldn't sit still at this moment. Even if you are fucking powerful, you actually dare to be arrogant in Monarch City. You really dare to provoke the lion in the lion's den. You're courting death. Wang Ding slammed the table, and the guard sitting on the other side of Zhang Chunyang immediately greeted Zhang Chunyang's head with a fist. However, before the fist landed on Zhang Chunyang's face, it was directly wrapped by a broad hand. Crack! Ha! Zhang Chunyang directly broke the guard's wrist and sent another fist over. The guard was directly sent flying more than 5 meters away and fell to the ground with a bang. The rest of the people also started to make their moves. They wanted to teach these country bumpkins a good lesson. Wang Ding also threw an elbow to the side and directly imprinted it on Zhang Chunyang's head. However, Zhang Chunyang's head didn't move at all. Instead, he looked at Wang Ding with an extremely disdainful gaze. "You people from Monarch City only have this much strength?" The corners of Zhang Chunyang's mouth twitched slightly. Seeing this, Wang Ding was immediately shocked. Although this move was a little bit reserved, and he was afraid that it would blow Zhang Chunyang's head, Wang Ding seemed to have overestimated his own strength and underestimated Zhang Chunyang's strength. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Chunyang directly slapped Wang Ding's face with his palm. Bang! Wang Ding was directly put on the ground, and the chair was also directly smashed down. Hee, now no one objects, right? Zhang Chunyang couldn't help but loosen his bones. The other guards were also directly put on the ground. These people's fist techniques were fierce and fierce. Without 20 or 30 years of martial arts, it was absolutely impossible to block them. This fish tastes good, but unfortunately, you won't have the chance to taste it. Li Zongjiu used chopsticks to pick up a piece of fish and put it into his mouth, as if he didn't see the movement just now. What he saw was only the people in front of him swaying. However, he didn't care at all. It was as if these people were beaten down, but he didn't have the slightest fear. "You're courting death," Zhang Chunyang immediately sneered. He immediately raised his arm and punched towards the table in front of Li Zongjiu. At this moment, a relatively weak hand gently stretched out and caught Zhang Chunyang's falling arm. Chapter 559. A trace of astonishment flashed across Zhang Chunyang's eyes. When he saw that the person who attacked was actually an extremely frail scholar, he didn't look like a scholar at all. He was able to easily block Zhang Chunyang's fist with such a hand. This caused Zhang Chunyang to be extremely shocked. "Sir, you really don't put my spring flower and autumn moon in your eyes," that scholarly man said indifferently. Tall and skinny, scholarly as though he had no bones. He looked like he would be blown away by a gust of wind, but in reality, he contained such a powerful force. It was truly shocking. A gigolo actually dares to act dumb in front of me. Although Zhang Chunyang was shocked, in the next moment, a beast-like force erupted from his body and hammered forward. Boom! Although that gigolo's strength was not bad, when faced with this move, he still felt as though he couldn't charge up his strength. It was as though he was suppressed by the other party's aura to the point that he couldn't breathe. When he finally breathed in, Zhang Chunyang's fist had already sent that gigolo flying with a bang. Bang! That gigolo's body was also sent flying violently. He smashed a few tables consecutively. They didn't expect to meet such a ferocious bandit in broad daylight, in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn. This really caused them to be shocked in their hearts. Could it be that this guy didn't want to live anymore? There were always some people who thought that they were fierce and liked to cause trouble and show off their skills. However, in the face of the multiple forces of the Sacred Flame Imperial City, they could only obediently bow their heads. After all, this was the royal city, and it wasn't a place where you could play around. When this punch landed, it also completely alarmed the manager of the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Inn. At first, he thought that it was just a small fight, However, just now that gigolo no, the guard that the Spring Flowers and Autumn Moon Pavilion hired at a high price, was directly crippled with a single punch. It was obvious that the other party had come prepared. It was obvious that they were here to cause trouble. Immediately, the manager of the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon hurriedly appeared. He came to stop the loss. However, before the steward appeared, Zhang Chunying didn't care so much. Today he must not eat this fish. Seeing that Li Zongjie was still leisurely eating, Zhang Chunying took a step forward, intending to shatter the table. With Li Zongjie's height, this slight step was like stepping on a small hill. However, before this kick landed, the other leg that was used as a support was kicked down by someone else. Zhang Chunying was unable to react in time, and fell to the ground with a thud, falling flat on his face. When the rest of the people saw that their big brother had been knocked to the ground, they immediately roared and rushed towards Li Zongjie. "You're courting death." The remaining 5 burly men rushed towards Li Zongjie one after another. However, Li Zongjie also flicked his finger, directly flicking the fish bone on the table away. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The flying fish bone was like a sharp arrow, instantly piercing through their throats. Immediately, the 5 of them fell to the ground, but they didn't die immediately. This was because there was only a small hole in their throats. However, the small hole in their throats showed no signs of healing. Furthermore, there was a force lingering around it, preventing the wound from healing. The few of them kept their mouths agape, unable to speak. These people were basically Yuanzong experts, but they were all knocked down by a few small fish bones. "Old Ma, old Nyo, what's wrong with you guys?" Zhang Chunying turned around and saw that his brothers had been knocked down to the ground. Moreover, fresh blood was flowing out from the gaps between their fingers. From the looks of it, they seemed to be extremely terrified. "I'll kill you." Zhang Chunying took out a broadsword from the cloth bag at his waist. There were 7 small holes on the broadsword, all of which were used to let out blood. The color of the blade had already changed. Clearly, the broadsword in Zhang Chunying's hand had already killed countless people in the process. Whoosh! Li Zongjie threw out the chopsticks in his hand. As the chopsticks flew out, Zhang Chunying used the broadsword in his hand to block them. Bang! The chopsticks were directly split into 2. However, the force behind them didn't decrease. With a whoosh, they pierced into Zhang Chunying's eyes. The yuan power around his body was actually unable to block Li Zongjie's chopsticks. The people eating here had some status and strength. However, they never imagined that Li Zongjie could actually kill so many people with just a pair of chopsticks and a fishbone. When they saw this, they were extremely shocked. Li Zongjie acted as if nothing had happened. He took out another pair of chopsticks and continued to pick up fish slices. Madame Fei Yan, the manager of the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon restaurant. Under the protection of 2 experts, they witnessed this massacre. When they saw Li Zongjie calmly eating fish slices in the pool of blood, they immediately knew that Li Zongjie wasn't a simple person. Immediately they signaled with their eyes. Immediately, someone came forward to clean up the corpses on the ground. "I'm sorry for disturbing all of you. I'll apologize here first. Everyone who is sitting here today will be free of charge. Take it as an apology." Madame Fian was wearing a long skirt that reached her chest. She was swaying an embroidered fan in her hand. However, she didn't have the smell of ordinary cosmetics on her body. Instead, she looked extremely refined, making people feel sincerely fond of her. When she spoke, her soft voice made people feel a sense of numbness in their bones. "Haha, thank you, Madame Fian. It's just a small matter. That little brother over there is so skillful." Some people also wanted to take the opportunity to curry favor with Li Zongjie. However, when they saw Li Zongjie's incomparably cold attitude, they knew that it was extremely difficult to get close to this person. "Damn it. My head." Wang Ding crawled up at this moment. Those people from before had all been cleaned up. Not even a trace of blood could be found on the ground. These people were either here for the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon restaurant, or here for Li Zongjie. In any case, they weren't here for the autumn mandarin fish. These people probably didn't expect that a mere plate of autumn mandarin fish would directly take their lives. It was truly terrifying. Damn it. Young master, are you alright? I'll immediately call people over to search for those people. Also, I think you guys don't want to open your restaurant anymore. With a bang, Wang Ding slammed the tiger seal token in his hand onto the table. This token belonged to whoever the emperor gave it to. Even if you snatched it away, it was useless. Therefore, Wang Ding carried this tiger token with him. No matter where he went, he would be the battalion commander of the Tusk Battalion. Madame Fian saw the information on the tiger token. It was actually a battalion commander of the city guards. This official wasn't high, but he wasn't small either. Just the thousands of troops under him, and the authority to enforce the law were not easy to deal with. Sir, I'm really sorry. Those criminals have already been dealt with by this young master. I'm here to express my gratitude. Madame Fian quickly went forward and brought out the things that she had already prepared. This is our spring flower and autumn moon restaurant's signature wine, Bejeweled Nectar. Paired with this autumn mandarin fish, it's a double ultimate. Bejeweled Nectar. When he heard the name of the Bejeweled Nectar, Wang Ding's eyes almost popped out. In the entire Holy Flame Imperial City, the name of the Bejeweled Nectar was widely spread. However, because these wineries didn't have the exact recipe, or because there were problems with the raw materials, they couldn't produce the real Bejeweled Nectar. Most of them were high-quality imitations. When Wang Ding, who was addicted to wine, heard the name of the Bejeweled Nectar, naturally he was very excited. It's true. This is the legendary Bejeweled Nectar, Wang Ding said excitedly. Li Zongjiu glanced at Wang Ding indifferently. Could it be that this bumpkin from the countryside only knew how to embarrass himself? Put down the wine first. Also, let's talk about the medical fees. Li Zongjiu knocked on the table and said. Chapter 560. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Madame Fian was stunned. Looking at the young Li Zongjiu, who was only a teenager, she could not help but listen to him when he spoke. There was always a feeling of being high and mighty, as if he was a superior being. Madame Fian could be considered to have received some real high officials and nobles, some real high-ranking people, and Li Zongjiu also had the same aura as those high-ranking people. Madame Fian could not help but quickly recall where this Li Zongjiu came from. He was actually protected by a battalion commander of the city guard army. Of course, it depended on Li Zongjiu's strength. It seemed like he did not need the protection of these people at all. He was just there as a foil to support the situation. Why would such a person care about such a small amount of compensation? The guards that Wang Ding brought along with him only had some external injuries. They only needed some medicine to treat them slightly, and they would be able to recover in a few days. After all, the injuries were not to their necks or hearts. It was naturally not difficult for them to recover. As for the compensation that Li Zongjiu mentioned, it was naturally not something simple. The smart Madame Fian immediately understood that he wanted to extort a sum of money. When Wang Ding heard that Li Zongjiu was willing to help him ask for the medical fees, he was quite touched. There were not many bosses who were so considerate of them. That's right. So many of my brothers are injured. Are you going to just let it go like this? Wang Ding's expression also changed. If you don't give me an explanation today, I have plenty of methods to make your shop shut down. Speaking of scaring people, Wang Ding's ability was not weak either. In addition, Wang Ding himself was a battalion commander and an official. He did not need to be angry to show his power. If it was an ordinary shop manager, he would have been frightened by Wang Ding's aura. Rest assured, my lord, the shop will cover all of your medical fees. In addition, each of you will be compensated with 100,000 gold coins. Madame Fian smiled faintly and said slowly. It was obvious that Madame Fian understood the situation. If a soldier died in battle, the compensation would be 50,000 gold coins. Regardless of whether the soldier was injured or not, Madame Fian would double the amount. Just the 6 men under her command alone would be worth 50,000 gold coins. That was equivalent to taking away 600,000 gold coins. In addition to the medical fees, 700,000 gold coins was a solid foundation. How generous! Even Wang Ding was a little moved by her words. However, Wang Ding did not say anything. Instead, he looked at Li Zongjiu. In this aspect, Li Zongjiu was the best. He did not care about such a small amount, and was extremely calm. And Wang Ding admired him. Was calm to be was. Waiter, come over here. How much is this plate of fish? Li Zongjiu asked. The waiter looked at Madame Fian in front of him, and seemed to be waiting for her order. Madame Fian nodded. The waiter said, replying to the customer, this plate is 170,000 gold coins. What about that plate? That plate is 310,000 gold coins. Including the food and wine on this table, how much is it? Replying to the customer, it is about 600,000 gold coins. The waiter said, all right, you can leave. Li Zongjiu waved his hand, and looked at Madame Fian who was waiting by the side. My 7 brothers on these 2 tables are all injured. You mean to say that my brothers worked so hard to fight, and it is only enough to pay for a meal here? Li Zongjiu's eyes gradually turned cold as he said this. Staring at Madame Fian in front of him, Madame Fian felt a chill down her spine. When the surrounding diners saw this scene, they were shocked. As expected, this kid was also a ruthless character. From the looks of it, he wasn't someone who could be easily dealt with. Not only Li Zongjiu, but Wang Ding's gaze also became rather sharp. This was because if they were to calculate, it was indeed the case. Wasn't this an insult to his brothers in the Tusk Battalion? Madame Fian looked at the men in front of her, as if they wanted to eat them alive. Although she was thinking in her heart, it was really like this. Even if you worked hard for your entire life, even if you sacrificed your life, you might not be able to earn enough to pay for a meal. That was how cruel and realistic it was. There was nothing to say about this point. Madame Fian was clear in her heart. However, if she said these words out loud, she would completely offend this mysterious young man in front of her. She smiled apologetically. Young master, you misunderstood. Just as Madame Fian was about to continue speaking, a handsome voice suddenly came from behind her. That's right. Even if all of your lives were added together, you still wouldn't be able to pay for a meal. Do you believe me when I say this? As the owner of the voice appeared, those who were originally eating also threw down their chopsticks one by one and hurriedly bowed. Some people directly cupped their fists towards the young figure who was walking over, and then left their tickets on the table. Did you think that it would really be free just because you said it would be free? If it was before this person came, then it would be fine. However, after this person came, once he found out that you didn't pay for your meal, then you would be dead. Behind the young man, there were 2 girls who looked exactly the same. They were clearly a pair of twin sisters. However, no one dared to have any improper thoughts. In addition, the aura of these 2 girls was incomparably cold. Ordinary people didn't dare to get close to them. The person who came was the 9th prince. Outsiders called him young Master Xianming. In just a short while, all the diners had already left. Young Master Xianming sat in front of another table. He looked at Li Zongjiu and the others. What he meant was that Li Zongjiu and the others didn't deserve to sit together with him. Madame Fian also slightly bowed towards Li Zongjiu and the others. Then, she walked to young Master Xianming's side and poured tea for him. The reason why the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon restaurant could last until now was mostly because of young Master Xianming's influence. Otherwise, with Madame Fian's strength, it would be difficult for her to last until now. Of course, she might have had a backer in the past. However, the backer now was this young Master Xianming. With the 9th prince's big name here, no one dared to act rashly. Everyone knew the rules. After young Master Xianming appeared, they all automatically left. If they stayed, they might be in danger of losing their heads. When Wang Ding saw the man who sat down, his heartbeat suddenly increased by 3 times. He almost had the urge to stand up and kneel down. However, the other party didn't reveal his identity. Moreover, in a place like this, the appearance of the 9th prince had to be kept a secret. For example, although those people just now had such a thought, they couldn't say it out loud. If they did, wouldn't it be announcing to the world that the 9th prince was actually a guest in a brothel? Chapter 561. However, as a subject, he would definitely be dealt with by the 9th prince in secret if he were to return. This was because Wang Ding's current position meant that he was standing on the opposite side of the ninth prince, even though it was hard to say which prince was backing him. Li Zongjiu poured a bowl of wine before standing up and walking to the opposite side of the ninth prince. Bing Shuang and Bing Shui also took a step forward, wanting to stop Li Zongjiu. If an unknown person wanted to get close to the ninth prince, they naturally had to stop him. However, the ninth prince waved his hand generously. Now that his cultivation base had broken through to the Yuan monarch realm, he could definitely be considered one of the best among the younger generation. At the very least, he would not bring disgrace to the name of the royal family. With such a majestic presence, he would definitely not disgrace the name of the royal family. A mere Li Zongjiu was not enough to make him feel afraid. You must be Li Zongjiu, who has been quite famous recently. I see that a lot of things have happened recently because of you. Are you trying to turn the world upside down? The ninth prince said slowly. Li Zongjiu stood in front of the ninth prince with a glass of wine in his hand. The two of them were separated by a table. Li Zongjiu's lips curled up slightly when he heard the ninth prince speak. What did you just say? Li Zongjiu asked. Looking at Li Zongjiu, the ninth prince was startled. Could it be that Li Zongjiu was the same as the rumors? There must be something wrong with his head. Did he have to embarrass himself? The outside world already had mixed opinions about Li Zongjiu. Many people had analyzed and studied Li Zongjiu's behavior many times, but they could not find out what was going on with Li Zongjiu. This was because most of the time, Li Zongjiu's way of doing things was simply based on his own mood. He didn't understand the ways of the world at all. Are you looking for trouble, Li Zongjiu? The ninth prince said as he straightened up. He found Li Zongjiu's question very ridiculous. Don't tell me you want to hear me scolding you again? Are you deaf? Let me ask you, what did you just say? Li Zongjiu's eyes suddenly became sharp. The ninth prince's eyes narrowed slightly when he saw this. This mere mortal actually dared to provoke the majesty of the royal family, and even dared to look at him, a prince with such a gaze. This was clearly a provocation. The ninth prince's eyes became incomparably sharp as the expression on his face gradually froze. Finally he slowly spoke. Hee, since you want to hear it, I'll tell you more. You and the people around you, even if you add up all of your heads, it's still not worth the dishes on this table. Do you have a problem with that? As soon as the ninth prince finished speaking, Li Zongjiu threw the wine cup in his hand and splashed it all over the place. Splash. With a loud sound, the wine was splashed onto the ninth prince's face. Even the ninth prince couldn't react in time, because such a thing had never happened before. The two maids beside him were also shocked when they saw this. Madame Fian, who was standing behind him, widened her eyes and opened her mouth wide. She covered her mouth and did not dare to breathe loudly at this moment. Even Wang Ding and the others felt as if their hearts were about to freeze at this moment. Did Li Zongjiu just splash the wine on the ninth prince's face? Fuck you. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? Li Zongjiu threw the wine cup in his hand out. However, this time, the wine cup was shattered by the maids beside him. Immediately, the maidservant let out a delicate cry and spat out a soft sword from her sleeve. It coiled towards Li Zongjiu like a spirit snake. Since they had already made their move, there was no need to hold back. The other maid was still guarding the ninth prince. Madame Fian quickly went up and wiped the water off the ninth prince's face. The soft sword in Bing Shuang's hand moved, and like a spirit snake, it flew towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu stretched out his finger and easily caught the moving soft sword between his fingers. Not bad at such a young age. Li Zongjiu looked at the blue-clothed girl in front of him in astonishment. The girl's soft sword was controlled. She immediately shouted, and the terrifying yuan power in her body flowed through the sword towards Li Zongjiu's body. However, this amount of yuan power was still insufficient in front of Li Zongjiu to be able to cultivate to the 7th grade of the origin ancestor realm. If you two sisters follow me, your future achievements will be greater. Li Zongjiu's body did not move at all. Even when the other party released her yuan power, it did not affect Li Zongjiu much. It was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no movement at all. The yuan power released by Bing Shuang was directly absorbed by Li Zongjiu. Impudent. Sister, Bing Shuang also saw that her sister was in a tough battle. Her figure flashed and she sent a palm towards Li Zongjiu. Frost condensed in the center of her palm. Bang! Li Zongjiu also raised his palm and met Bing Shuang's palm. In the next moment, Bing Shuang's body flew backwards. Boom! As she fell, she directly smashed a table. After that, Bing Shuang's body was also entangled by a surge of yuan power. This surge of yuan power was the yuan power released by Bing Shuang just now. It was actually all transferred to Bing Shuang's body. Bing Shuang! Bing Shuang shouted when she saw this. However, she was distracted and Li Zongjiu seized the opportunity. Li Zongjiu gently crossed his fingers and flicked them. With a swoosh, the soft sword in Bing Shuang's hand was sent flying. Even Bing Shuang's body flew backwards. The soft sword in her hand also seemed to be affected by the force. It slightly overlapped in the air, and finally pierced the ceiling with a bang. I think you are courting death. The ninth prince immediately slammed his palm on the table in front of him. Immediately, a loud bang sounded, and the table was directly smashed into pieces. At the same time, the aura on his body also exploded. An aura that could topple mountains and overturn seas blasted out. Boom! The tyrannical aura was like an angry rhinoceros, crashing towards Li Zongjiu. The ninth prince's eyes were incomparably cold. It was useless to keep someone like Li Zongjiu alive. Therefore, he must let Li Zongjiu enjoy the feeling of being stepped on under someone's foot. Usually, in Royal City, everyone would always give in to Li Zongjiu. However, the ninth prince did not show any mercy today. The power in his body suddenly exploded. Everyone raised their eyebrows. They did not expect that the seemingly weak ninth prince would actually possess such terrifying strength. Is that all you have? Li Zongjiu threw out a slap and easily shattered the aura released by the ninth prince. In the next moment, his body flashed and suddenly appeared in front of the ninth prince. He grabbed with his hand. He grabbed the ninth prince's neck. He lifted the ninth prince up easily. The ninth prince immediately felt a strong sense of suffocation. This was the first time the ninth prince felt so close to death. The ninth prince even seemed to see the Grim Reaper standing in front of him, ready to take away his soul. Young master, you can't kill him. He is the ninth prince. Wang Ding suddenly shouted when he saw the situation. The murderous aura in Li Zongjiu's eyes gradually disappeared, as he casually threw the ninth prince to the ground. Although the ninth prince already had the strength of an Yuan king, he was still too weak in front of Li Zongjiu. If he really wanted to kill the ninth prince, he would only need to move his finger. 1 second was enough. He did not even need extra time to kill the ninth prince. However, when he heard that this person was the ninth prince, Li Zongjiu gave up on killing him. It was not because Li Zongjiu was afraid of the ninth prince's identity. In fact, Li Zongjiu had more or less guessed that this person was the ninth prince. To be able to make everyone leave as soon as they entered, who else could it be? Wang Ding also heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Li Zongjiu put the ninth prince down. If Li Zongjiu really killed the ninth prince, it would be troublesome. Wang Ding would probably turn around and deal with Li Zongjiu. After all, the ninth prince was a member of the royal family. Such a crime would implicate 9 generations of the royal family. Chapter 562. The ninth prince was directly thrown to the ground. He hurriedly got up and leaned against a pillar as he panted. It was only at this moment that he was able to truly feel it. The air was so precious. Normally, when he breathed smoothly, he would not feel the preciousness of the air at all. However, when the ninth prince came to his senses, he was incomparably furious. You dare to murder a prince? I think you are rebelling. The ninth prince immediately pointed at Li Zongjiu and roared loudly. You shut up, you are asking for a beating. Li Zongjiu immediately glared at the ninth prince. At the same time, the aura within his body rumbled and directly blasted the ninth prince's body like an air cannon. The ninth prince was directly blasted away and fell to the ground with a bang. Puff! Even with the ninth prince's strength, he still spat out a mouthful of blood. The ninth prince, who was rolling on the ground, was naturally in great pain. He never thought that Li Zongjiu would be so bold as to directly attack him. The dignified ninth prince. Young master! Young master! The two sisters hurriedly rushed forward and helped their ninth prince up. Li Zongjie was simply too audacious. The two sisters looked at each other. Even if they were to die, they would definitely protect their young master. Since you are the ninth prince, I will save some effort. Listen to me carefully. From now on, I will give you 3 days. 3 days later, 1 billion purple yuan. Send it to me. Do you hear me clearly? Li Zongjie pointed at the ninth prince, who was sitting on the ground and vomiting blood, and said, "What kind of status did the ninth prince have? When had he ever encountered such a situation? This was simply a bandit, a hooligan, and a bully asking for a debt. This debt actually fell on the shoulders of a dignified prince, which was somewhat unbelievable. If you can't pay in 3 days, I will directly take away your 2 young ladies' interest. As for your spring flower and autumn moon pavilion, within 5 days, each of my brothers will have to gather 100 million gold coins. Otherwise, I will tear down your broken pavilion." Li Zongjie said indifferently. He did not hesitate at all. After he finished speaking, he did not even give them a chance to back out. Who would dare to back out? Even the ninth prince himself was stunned by Li Zongjie's attack. How could this be? How could Li Zongjie's strength be above his? In the younger generation, there were not many people who could surpass him. Suddenly, the ninth prince took a deep breath as a sharp glint flashed across his eyes. Boom! An incomparably obscure mental energy ripple immediately swept towards Li Zongjie. Mental energy attack? This ninth prince was really stupid. He actually used such a clumsy mental energy attack in front of Li Zongjie. You are really interesting. When the mental energy rushed in front of Li Zongjie, it was completely blocked. Li Zongjie's figure flashed and appeared in front of the ninth prince. He saw that Li Zongjie was completely unharmed by his mental energy attack. A trace of horror immediately appeared in the ninth prince's eyes. In the next moment, Li Zongjie's hand fell. "Since you want to play, I will play with you. I will take your mental energy first." A throwing knife immediately appeared in Li Zongjie's hand. In front of everyone, he directly stabbed the knife into the ninth prince's head. "No!" Even the ninth prince exclaimed. He couldn't believe that Li Zongjie really had the guts to kill him. The Frost and Bingxue sisters wanted to block and stop Li Zongjie's actions, but they were directly sent flying by Li Zongjie. Even if the entire Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion joined forces, they were still no match for Li Zongjie. They were all easily sent flying. If Li Zongjie wanted to kill them all, he could casually spread his mental energy and easily kill them all. No one could escape from Li Zongjie's hands. However, this knife stabbed into the ninth prince's head and didn't directly end his life. The ninth prince was in incomparable pain, because the mental energy that he had painstakingly cultivated was constantly pouring into the vast throwing knife in his hand. No! The absorption was complete. The ninth prince roared, and then fell to the ground powerlessly. "I'll keep your mental energy for the time being." Li Zongjie's lips curled up slightly as he said lightly, "If you can't gather the money, don't even think about taking back your mental energy." Looking at Li Zongjie again, the ninth prince knew that Li Zongjie wasn't a madman or a fool. He had real strength. However, this didn't stop the ninth prince from wanting to kill Li Zongjie. Even at this moment, he must kill Li Zongjie to vent the hatred in his heart. No matter what, he must take Li Zongjie's life. His dignity as the ninth prince couldn't be trampled on so easily. He must make Li Zongjie pay the price. "Let's go." Wang Ding and the others still hadn't reacted until now. Some of them were even trembling in fear. This was a prince. However, in front of Li Zongjie, he was no different from an ordinary person. He was even beaten up like a dead dog. "Let's go. Let's go." The bodies of Wang Ding and the others were also stiff. They followed behind Li Zongjie numbly. As they walked, they also looked back 3 times with every step. Now, it seemed that there was only one way to go. That was to follow Li Zongjie closely. Otherwise, once they left Li Zongjie's side, they would be instantly eliminated by the ninth prince's forces. After today's incident, he believed that the ninth prince wouldn't be too polite to Wang Ding. Although there wasn't any conflict between the two families before this, there was now. This made Wang Ding want to cry, but no tears came out. He had walked into a dead end. Your strength is too weak. Take this elixir. After some time, come to my residence, and I will refine some elixirs for the brothers. If you can't improve your strength, you will die a horrible death sooner or later. Li Zongjiu directly threw an elixir to Wang Ding. Wang Ding took the elixir in his hand. He thought that it was just some grade 3 elixirs. Although grade 3 elixirs were relatively precious, of course, he should be grateful. However, when Wang Ding felt the aura of the elixir in his hand, he immediately widened his eyes. Fuck, this is... Wang Ding immediately exclaimed. He couldn't believe his eyes. He directly covered the elixir with his hand. This is... grade 5 elixir. Wang Ding's face almost turned red. It was actually a grade 5 elixir. Any random level 5 medicinal pill was worth tens of millions of spirit stones. Even the deputy commander of the City Guard Corps might not be able to obtain a grade 5 elixir. However, Li Zongjiu had casually thrown out a grade 5 elixir. Wang Ding's strength wasn't bad. However, it was only at the grade 8 Yuan ancestor level. Only by breaking through to the Yuan monarch level would there be a possibility of an additional advancement. Wang Ding naturally wanted to make a breakthrough, but he had no way to do so. He had no medicinal pills to support him, and there was no experienced person to guide him. Without a guide, how could he make a breakthrough just by exploring himself? Wang Ding's heart was filled with regret. He reckoned that there weren't many people in the entire military camp who hoped that he could break through. Therefore, relying on oneself was the most important path. Unfortunately, Wang Ding's talent was limited to this. As for Li Zongjiu's gift, no reward, this elixir was simply a cardiac stimulant for Wang Ding. With this elixir, breaking through one's cultivation base wouldn't be difficult at all. Furthermore, even if there were areas that he didn't understand, he only needed to ask Li Zongjiu for clarification. Given Li Zongjiu's cultivation base, guiding Wang Ding wouldn't be a problem at all. Besides Wang Ding, even the entire Tusk battalion would be able to obtain elixirs. That was the true strength of the entire troop. Of course, it was impossible to distribute the elixir to everyone. Even in the Tusk battalion, not everyone was on the same side. Therefore, they still had to be careful. Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master. The Tusk battalion members were also extremely touched. They weren't as hypocritical as the others. At least, there were genuine elixirs given to Wang Ding. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.